Haley Sutton went there.
That's what I was kind of thinking.
So we're starting to get a UNT build. The ones that I always notice. Texas.
Yeah.
Missouri. Because you got
Missouri's an excellent journalism school.
Yeah, they've got
Brad
a bunch
Sham
of
Danny Surratt.
Yeah,
who's out
Sham,
of Arizona.
Danny Surratt, Kevin Gray,
yeah.
Mickey Spagnola, all Missouri alum.
Yeah, my man Mickey.
A&M, Texas, Missouri, and LSU. That's basically the whole beat.
Who's the A&M ones?
Oh, there's a ton of A&M. So Rob Phillips went to A&M. Shireen Williams went to
A&M. Yeah.
RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys, he's A&M. And so, I mean, there's a bunch of A&M people. Hagee. So we get a bunch of A&M people around the meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Texas Rangers yesterday dropped the series to the Houston Astros. They lose 3 out of 4. This was a bad 8-game stretch for them at home. You know, when you come out of this going 3-5, that's not how you want this to go when you're talking about you're playing the Tigers, a team that struggles a great deal, that may be on the verge of being a seller here at the deadline. Would probably be a seller if
really injured in their pitching staff too.
Yeah, and probably would be a seller if not for the fact that they're in such a poor division. These central divisions in the National League and American League are keeping everybody as a contender right now, but not a great baseball team. You split with them, and then Houston comes in here, and Houston has not been the normal Houston Astros this year, and they've been really banged up, and you end out blowing this one. Yesterday, Rangers trail 6-0 in the second. Martin Perez got rocked. Absolutely rocked. And I know Bruce Bochy talked about it after the game, that Martin Perez's stuff was just flat. I mean, to be honest, if it wasn't for an incredible catch by Adolis Garcia in the first inning, that may have been 8-0 after 2. Because he was in a spot where he very easily could have given up 8 to 10 runs in those 2 innings he pitched yesterday. They were down 10-2 in the 4th. They claw their way back. They tie it at 10 in the 7th. They take the lead in the 8th, and then they blow an 11-10 lead in the 9th, and they ultimately lose this one 12-11. And it just, these last 2 days, when Aroldis Chapman has pitched both days and has looked good and has shown you this is why you traded for this guy.
Here we go.
What you're seeing
Here we go.
I'm just saying.
Is this Bobby baseball knee-jerk reaction?
No. I don't think it's knee-jerk at all.
Bochy told us he was going to use him as that setup guy.
Yeah, which is fine.
But it wasn't any high-leverage situations with KC.
I don't need him to save. I don't need him to save. He's fine
Maybe
doing
we
setup.
do need him. I mean,
maybe.
I
don't, if he's setting up, that's fine. But here's the thing: is that despite Aroldis Chapman looking really good these last 2 days, what this reiterates still is you need more bullpen help. Chapman isn't going to fix everything that's wrong with this bullpen. And the last 2 days, who's it been? It's been the 2 guys that you thought you could rely on in the back end of the bullpen. It's been Will Smith blowing it yesterday in the 9th, and it was Josh Spores the day before.
Yeah. But that's the problem, Bobby. That's the problem is that, you know, it hasn't been like Josh Spores has been bad all year. He was running on a streak where he had like 16 or 17 scoreless innings, and then he blows a save. And this was before this series with the Astros. But the same thing with Smith. I mean, it just, you know, there was no signs of like, okay, this is going to be shaky here. This is not going to work out. You know, you got the situation. You got Chapman gets you through the 8th. And then you get to the 9th and you put your most reliable pitcher out there to get a save, and he can't close it.
Oh yeah, I don't question at all the decision to throw Will Smith out there. Will Smith is that's the right call. He's your closer. He's been good for you this year.
Yeah.
It's just more about the reliability of your bullpen. It's less about who did you go to and more about you need clearly to continue to strengthen this bullpen. It's not enough to just say, well, we called up Grant Anderson and he's been solid.
Yeah.
We traded for Aroldis Chapman. Josh Spores has been better.
Grant Anderson looked kind of normal the other day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and Grant Anderson has been one of those guys when he's come in and he's in some high leverage situations has done a pretty good job. The thing with the bullpen, I totally agree. I think you need another bat. You know, with
oddly enough, with as good as the offense has been, you've had a black hole at DH.
Yeah, that's the problem at DH yesterday with Smith batting in the DH, and then you had a chance to add a run, you know, late in that game, maybe even more of an insurance run to your lead, you strike out.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's the problem that you run into is, you know, the Ranger order, it's pretty damn good. But there is some points where you're like, okay, you get to that DH spot and it hasn't been as good as the other spots. You can, you could talk about Tavares and what he's been able to do and stuff like that. And
which he was great again yesterday.
He was great again yesterday, and so that's the kind of thing that, at the bottom of the order, but it's been a struggle at that DH spot. It really, really has.
Yeah, and we'll kick around some names at 9:40, just looking at additional trade options for the Rangers to consider, relievers, starters, and now, maybe we'll look at a bat here.
I agree with you. I thought it was a bad series myself. I thought it was a bad series in the way that you needed to find a way to win 3-4 against the Tigers, or even sweep the Tigers. You needed to find a way. You didn't need to split with the Tigers.
Yeah, I wanted them coming out of this 8-game stretch. I wanted them coming out of it minimum 6-2. I wanted them to win.
You win 3 or 4. The Tigers win 4 or 4 against the Tigers, which is hard to do. But you do that and say you split with the Astros, and you feel pretty good about that. But that yesterday, the way they fought back, I think is admirable. But the way they lost it was awful.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that they clawed back was great. Now, Perez getting rocked, there's only so much you can do when your starting pitcher gets rocked that fast, that early.
Well, at least it was early in the game. It gave you a chance to rally back.
Right. It's not something, it's not one of these things where, look at, it's not an instance of Perez was shut down for 5 innings and you left him in too long and he got rocked in the 6th.
No.
Perez got crushed early. There was nothing
you rally from that
nothing
point.
You could do about that other than just say, all right, we're gonna do our best here. Glenn Otto got hit around a little bit too, but it's like, you know what, we're gonna do our best to make this a long bullpen day, and we're gonna have to claw back offensively, and they did. And it wasn't just, man, they had this big 9-run inning. I mean, they chipped away. They scored 2 in the 3rd, 3 in the 4th, 4 in the 5th, and they scored a run in the 7th, a run in the 8th. They clawed back. They were consistent on offense yesterday. It's just, you shouldn't be in a position where your lineup feels like, okay, well, we got to go score 11 runs today. And then once we score 11 runs, we got to hold our breath in the 9th inning or in any inning late in the game.
But
to this point,
to this point, you hadn't. When Smith had come in games, you haven't had to hold your breath.
Yeah, not as consistently.
That's where, I mean, like I said, he'd had like 10 straight where he had converted on saves. It wasn't like he was blowing saves. It worked out perfectly. The Astros tried to give you that game yesterday. Bregman's throwing error. They tried to give you the game, and it set up perfect. You got to the 9th with your best pitcher, your best closer, and you couldn't get it done. But that's the problem with the Rangers. It's not something to me that's always been, it's like, this is going along well. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Oh, here's the hiccup. Everybody on that staff has had a hiccup along the way.
Yeah.
Except I think Dane Dunning is the one guy. I expect Dane Dunning to go out and have another great game today.
Which is fascinating because Dunning wasn't even in the rotation to start the year, and he is somebody who I think people were a little down on going this year, and he's been completely steady and completely reliable.
He is the one guy, Eovaldi and what he's been. Eovaldi tried to get like his 10th win for like 3 straight starts, and was kind of we had questions about his velocity and things like that, and he finally got the victory the other day, got his 10th victory, and was voted on to the All-Star team.
Yep.
But you kind of felt like, well, Eovaldi was the guy that was, after you have a loss, that he's the guy, and he is. I think they're 5-0 after a loss when he pitches, which is outstanding. But to me, the guy that seems to every time there's a loss and he pitches the next day is Dunning. He seems like the one guy that goes out there and gives you 7 or 8 innings and kind of, saves the bullpen, and they find a way to win the game.
Which is interesting because, again, he's not somebody with, he doesn't have incredible stuff necessarily. He's not a big strikeout guy. No. He does not throw with a lot of heat. And so he's
super smart, crafty, whatever you want to say. I mean, keeps the ball down. Doesn't get in trouble. Yeah.
Good with his location, keeps the ball down. Like these are all things that are checks in his favor, but it does make you go, like, sometimes I think you just wait for the bottom to fall out. And that's probably not fair given how consistent he's been, but I think you are waiting for, okay, when does he return back down to earth?
Oh, so you're going to say today is going to be the day where the bottom falls out?
No, not today. I just mean, like, it's one of those where people, I think we all kind of sit around and go, like, how sustainable is this, just given some of the peripheral stuff. But Tough loss for the Rangers. Tough series for the Rangers. They are 5 games under 500 over the last 25.
That's not good.
Which is not a good run for them. Yeah. Are the Dallas Mavericks any better than the team that finished 11th in the West last season? We'll talk about it and all the other news from around the association. That's next here on 105.3 The Fan.
We will gladly be your
877-333-3333.
Happy 4th, Tolos. Bobby Belt alongside Brian Broaddus. We got Justin Honore on the board. Shout out to all of you guys listening with us here on this 4th of July. Give us a shout on the truckwreck.com. Fan text 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. Shout out 251 listening from Mobile, Alabama.
One of my favorite cities, by the way.
Is it?
Mobile.
You big Dreamland barbecue guy?
I'm just a fan of the whole thing down there, the whole vibe. People will tell you that New Orleans was the originator of Mardi Gras.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Mobile, Alabama.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I knew they claimed that. I didn't know if it was legitimate, though. But as somebody who went to LSU, if you're saying that
there's so many cities, like from when I used to travel, like with scouting and stuff, and spend time. Like you could drop me in the middle of Indianapolis, downtown, and I could walk around and tell you where everything is.
Are you going to go to Combine with me next year?
I want to.
Because these last 2 years, I have not known how to walk the little skywalks.
Oh no, you could. I could take you to where you get all the way to the convention center without ever going outside.
Well, that'd be nice because last year I had to get to one specific hotel. I could not figure out which walkway would get me there, and I ended up having to go outside to do it, and it was pouring rain. So I showed up to Exos drenched.
Yeah, usually cold and pouring rain there. Sometimes even snow, but to get back to Mobile, just great people down there. You know, the Senior Bowl, Jim Nagy's our buddy, friend of the show, director of the Senior Bowl down there, and they just do a tremendous job. And it's one of the fun cities to go. If you ever have an opportunity, stop by and just take it all in. It's one of the neat places you can visit. A lot of history there.
Shout out to the 530 Tahoe Tolos. We got a lot of people listening from out of town.
Tahoe's
today.
like New Mexico?
No, Tahoe.
Tahoe. Oh, like Nevada Tahoe?
I don't know. I would think like
California Tahoe.
I would think like Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, but isn't that
530 is California.
It's California, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be a cell phone or something, Brian. In fact, it is. It texted us.
Yeah, Nevada, right? Tahoe, Nevada. Am I right about that? Did I skip class that day?
Yeah, I don't think there is a Tahoe, Nevada. Now you're gonna make me go look. Actually, I do know it's Nevada.
Nevada.
They get very worked up if you don't call it Nevada. You're right. There's a Lake Tahoe, Nevada.
Okay.
So I'm an idiot. All right. NBA stuff.
Went to
first
college
off,
and you did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is so not true. You're
well,
so much smarter than me. It's not even
you
funny.
did go to college and I didn't, so that's true.
Questionable where I went.
A couple of small updates relating to the Mavericks. First off, condolences to newly acquired Dante Exum. His father, Cecil Exum, passed away yesterday at the age of 60. Former North Carolina basketball player, teammate of Michael Jordan's. He had reports were saying that he had been dealing with a lung issue. He had been in serious condition for a little while. So condolences to the Exum family for that. A couple other notes here. Mark Stein reporting that Dallas, when they came to terms on a new deal with Dwight Powell, that it's because the Rockets started making a push after him. So the Rockets did not make the push after Kyrie Irving that I think some people were maybe hoping for. Maybe you could get something going to, force the Mavericks to get a little more proactive. That didn't happen. They end out just getting Kyrie on their own. But apparently they did make a push for Dwight Powell, which ultimately nothing comes of that, and the Mavericks re-signed him to a deal, which I know thrilled Mike Bassick. If you listened to Crosstalk yesterday with Sean and RJ, he was so happy that Dwight Powell is back. You've got a really good beat on the Mavericks and some of the things that go on over there. What is it you think that they like about Dwight Powell? Because I think most Mavericks fans look at it and go like, why is he ever on the floor?
I think, okay, let me
is he just a glue guy?
Let me frame it for you this way, because you hang around a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
In sports, whether football, basketball, baseball, you're around a lot of coaches.
Sure.
What do coaches always like in a player? What's the one trait that they always like in a player?
Effort, motor.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's it.
He's try hard guy.
Well, that's but yeah, you say try hard guy, but in all honesty, that's what coaches dig. What's the one thing when we were all, I shouldn't say we all, when I was super critical of Terrence Steele, what was the one thing that we kept hearing from their front office and their coach.
First one in, last one out.
Bingo.
No off-season workout warrior.
There
Nobody's
you
been
go.
working harder. And look, it's shown on the
coachable.
field. Yeah, absolutely.
Coachable. See, that's the thing. People, when you could watch the ability and all that, but coaches totally dig the guy or the gal that, like you just described, first in, last to leave, gym rat, likes being, never leaves the facility.
Yep.
All these things that, it's like they always say coach's dream. This gal, they're a coach's dream. That's what, they're really the most talented guys and gals are really the ones that sometimes are the most trouble.
Yeah.
But you have to have those coaches' favorites to make up for the other problems that you have to deal with. Like Lyle
what
Collins.
you're saying,
Lyle Collins. Okay, when you describe Lyle Collins is a great guy.
Yeah.
But like to Joe Philbin, what was Lyle Collins?
A guy who couldn't bend any longer and didn't fully buy in and give all the effort all the time.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So those things matter. Now, do you think he signs back on what? I think it was a 3-year, $12 million deal.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money for Dwight Powell, but
It's a lot less than what he was.
Yeah, it's
getting.
half of what he was making or whatever
Right,
it was. Would you, at this point, given everybody that they have on their roster, let's assume they don't make any more moves, but they've got Derek Lively, they've got Rashawn Holmes, they've got Dwight Powell. It feels like this is still setting up for Dwight Powell's probably the starting center to begin the year next year, doesn't it? Yeah. I don't know that Lively's going to be ready to go.
Well, if you talk to people within the organization, and I did pre-draft because I asked about Lively. That's my job.
I know. I'm just doing a well. We do it on the morning show.
Well, okay. No, but it is my job to try and figure. That's the great thing is there's a lot of guys and gals that really like the NFL, so you have some really good trade-offs. You could talk NFL with them, and they'll talk NBA with you or Major League Baseball. But the organization, from what I was hearing, was that they thought that Lively could be he could be immediately part of the rotation.
That's great.
That it wasn't like, well, he's got a lot of talent. See, I had also heard that maybe the potential of them backing up in the draft and taking somebody later. Usually you take somebody later in the draft, they probably have played more years.
Yeah.
Probably had more experience, but not as talented.
Sure.
So that's why they stood in there and made that pick.
Well, and move back to 12 to make it. See, I like to always find the analogy. I like to make the analogy. Think about you've got the team at 10 that went ahead and traded back to 12. And then at 12, they made a pick of a raw prospect that a lot of fans were complaining about on draft night.
Yeah.
It's the same story as Micah Parsons. They moved back from 10 to 12, picked a raw player that people weren't fans of. Not that Micah Parsons and Derek
Pennsylvania kid too, right?
Yeah, see, look, we're making all the connections here.
Making all the connections. But I know that they were excited about Lively being there.
Yeah, and he'll instantly come in and be one of their best rebounders and one of their best defenders, just because of the fact that they didn't have a lot of good. They did not have people to rebound at the 4 and 5, really.
Yeah, this is where I get in trouble. Because a guy like Kevin Hagelin, he watches Duke basketball. So he watches Duke basketball like every night.
Yes.
So then I'm listening to the afternoon show. He's talking about him. And then Bassick studies his stuff. I mean, he knows who plays in the NBA, and he has his comments about these guys. And so sometimes you get influenced. It's like me talking about a Bosa.
Sure. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Talking about a Joey Bosa. I'm like, this guy could be like Greg Ellis, that kind of thing. And Greg Ellis was a damn good player.
And
but that's what happens. Like, you say stuff like that, and it influences people in a way where they're like, well, this guy's he's just okay.
Well, and circling back, sort of on the same lively discussion, but circling back towards Powell, 214 says, I don't understand the Dwight Powell slander. He's a quality role player. Not every big will get you 20 and 10. That's never been his game. Is that just the case, you think? Do you think it's like we need to just have realistic expectations for who these players are and not assign to them that they need to be Hakeem Olajuwon or anything like that?
I think we got a little shook this year when we watched Mavs basketball, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden that team that Luka and Kidd and all those guys over there, it was just kind of like a gritty, tough, they did play a Utah team that was imploding, a Phoenix team that was imploding. They got through, and next thing you know, they're in the conference finals. So to me, it was like, well, okay, man, if they got this kind of, and then they add Kyrie, and it's like, whoa, they just fell apart. And so now you're like, what just happened? I was like, how do you get a top 5 player in the league, or a top 8 player in the league, and then all of a sudden your team goes completely south the way they did at the end?
I look at it this way with the Mavericks is they add Lively, they add Omax Prosper, they add Rashawn
What do you think
Holmes.
about Prosper? I've heard a lot of good things about him.
I didn't know anything. I honestly didn't know much about him at all. I like his potential. The athleticism's great.
Sure.
And everything else. So that's a real positive. But in terms of, what he's going to be able to contribute right away, I'm not sure about that. But I mean, Prosper's encouraging. Lively's encouraging. Holmes is encouraging. Those are 3 additions they made right there. They bring on Exum. If Exum has figured out 3-point shooting in Europe, maybe he
was
can
good overseas.
Yeah, he can contribute in a meaningful way, and as long as he stays healthy. Now, on the Derek Lively thing, real quick, we had played this recently on the show. We played several clips from a documentary of sorts that Duke had produced. Duke men's basketball last year on Derek Lively's journey to the NBA, which is incredibly inspiring. His dad died when he was 8. His mom got cancer when he was 9, had it all the way up until he got to Duke, spent a decade with cancer, and he was basically taken care of as a kid. He's an incredibly inspiring guy. But when we talk about what he is as a player, and Hagelin being a little frustrated with what he sees every night with Duke and everything like that, I think it is important to put this context in here. This is one of the clips we were not able to play on Sean and RJ when we did this, but this is Derek Lively and the coaches at Duke in that documentary talking about some of the things that set Lively back and why it needs context for his growth.
Coming in the summer, I feel like we were rolling. I loved the way the summer workouts were going. I loved the way I was improving. And once I got hit with that injury, I kind of found myself at a roadblock, mentally and physically.
He was throwing some curveballs early. He had an injury in the preseason. He had an injury again where he re-aggravated it right before the season started.
I couldn't find myself. The reason everything started to flip around is because I started acting like who I was. Got back in the gym, stayed in the gym, and just started to be hungry, You got to start for your future. You got to start for your dreams. You just got to keep building each day.
He continued to work. He is a routine that he's done every single morning with Emil Jefferson, and he has improved as much as any player that we've had come through our program through the course of this year.
I've probably been in the gym 5 days a week, 4 days a week, at least every week for the past couple of months, making sure I'm sharpening my game to just make sure I'm taking steps forward instead of backwards.
He's in the gym working every single day. It's been a lot of fun seeing him grow and just watch him get better from that first week in the summer to now. He's a completely different player, and it's you have to give a ton of credit to his work ethic and to how badly he wants it. It's just been awesome to see him grow and thrive.
Now, obviously, there may be a little bit of, some people would say, well, that's fluff. What are the coaches going to say? But it is encouraging to me to hear, all right, look, he was dealing with injuries as a young, raw player. That's going to slow some of your development. They have a lot of mouths to feed at Duke, so that's going to put you behind everybody else. They were not asking him to do a lot of different things. But when the coaching staff says, this guy is a gym rat who grew as much as anybody else in the program over the year, I think that's encouraging.
Yeah, that's the thing is if you're the gym rat, but you have to have talent if you're the gym rat.
And he has talent. Number one recruit in the country when he was coming out.
Sure was. And so that's, to me, those things are always encouraging because if you do have the work ethic, you do have the desire, those are all things that are an absolute must. And when we had a chance to interview him, and I was very impressive. Yeah, if you just listen to him talk, it's like, man, this guy seems beyond his years.
Yes.
And I think being a young guy in professional sports, sometimes we lose that you get caught up in things.
Yep.
He doesn't seem like a guy to me that's going to get caught up in
very
things.
Grounded.
Yeah.
Very grounded.
And hopefully he'll work out. I hate to see the Mavs. I hated to see the way it ended for them last year. I hated to see the you make a trade, you're sitting there in the fourth hole, in the conference, and you're playing well, and and then all of a sudden you end up, with a lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, man, as a fan, that was just gut wrenching to watch that thing progress the way it did.
A Jerry Jones docuseries is coming to a streaming service near you. What stories does Brian Broaddus think should be included in the Jerry Jones documentary? We'll talk about it next and Below the Belt on 105 through the Fan.
RJ Chop.
to maintain or improving your lifestyle through this next stage of life. Many factors affect your financial future. Let Trajan Wealth's fiduciary advisors help you craft an income plan to meet your goals. Hit them up, tell them you're a Tolo, and that Sean from the Fan sent you. They have offices in Frisco, Arlington, and Southlake. Here's the number, 469-579-3500. That's 469-579-3500, and the website is TrajanWealth.com. Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Paid advertisement.
When you value real independence, you own it. At Classic Chevrolet in Grapevine, shop new Silverados with once-a-year July 4th savings. See them all at ClassicChevrolet.com. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Relax and enjoy the difference. Find new roads.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. The Rangers are in Boston to open a series with the Red Sox today. Hi, everybody. This is Matt Hicks, inviting you to join Jared Sandler, Mike Peasley, and me. Our coverage of today's game gets underway at noon on 105.3 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
The great Bobby Belt.
Don't make me take off my belt.
Don't make me take off my belt.
We're not. Raw, uncensored, provocative, Jerry gone wild. Probably not what we're getting out of the 10-part docuseries that is now going to be heading to a streaming service near you, but maybe. So we've talked about this already a little bit, that a NFL Films / Skydance Productions, Skydance Sports docuseries, 10-part docuseries.
Who's got Skydance, by the way?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is that like...
I was thinking maybe somebody famous, if it's like a Clint Eastwood kind of a deal.
I'll look it up. I'll find out for you. But Skydance Sports and NFL Films are working on this docuseries about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. It will be a 10-part docuseries. It was announced in May, and we now know where it will be. Netflix has purchased the docuseries for $50 million. How
about that? Just keep printing money over there, don't we?
$5 million an episode?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's significant.
It is significant.
But look, if there was, I mean, you want to talk about figures in the sports world. Is there anybody, I think you'd have very few people, love him or hate him, there are very few people that I think I'd want to see a documentary about more than Jerry Jones.
Okay, you're absolutely right. And I worked for the man for 14 years. He is a fascinating person. Now, you can hate him for football things that he's done, but working for him, I owe him a lot. I owe that family a lot. They gave me 2 careers. They hired me on as a scout, and they let me work on DallasCowboys.com. So I still do work with DallasCowboys.com. So I really do appreciate everything the Jones family does. I hope that Netflix gets their money's worth from this, though. I'd like to believe this might be the one thing that people go back on and look at Jerry Jones' life.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal. That this is he is 80 years old, and I'm not trying to be morbid and all those things, but this might be the chronicling of his life. And I don't know how far back I want to go in that life. But
how deep.
Yeah. But he is a fascinating man, and there are things that he has done that I'm sure that they're not going to be able to get on Netflix.
Now, here's the thing that's very interesting about Jerry is, and you just kind of spoke about how grateful you are to him.
I'm very grateful to the Jones family. I really am.
There's a little bit of a perception at times, I know, we get here in the media where people go like, oh, you're scared to ask Jerry this or that, or, oh, you're only asking Jerry this because he controls all the questions. He's making you do this. I cannot tell you how far from the truth it is to say Jerry genuinely will not get in the way of things you want to talk about.
Not at all.
Media.
Not at all.
You as an employee on DallasCowboys.com,
he
tried to fire his head coach.
3 years.
Somebody he views as his son for 3 years.
3 years. He 3 years. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you how hard it is to work for DallasCowboys.com. And if you ever ask David Hellman this question, or anybody that's ever worked at DallasCowboys.com, they allow you the platform to be super critical when you need to be. But they also expect you to be fair. Those are the 2 things they ask. Be critical, but be fair about it. And that's the thing that I know for 3 years, myself, David Hellman, getting on airplanes, going with the team to places on road trips, we'd have to walk through the coaches section up there in first class. And every one of those eyes would turn to you like, oh, there are the SOBs that picked against us this week.
Yeah.
Oh, there are the SOBs that are trying to get us fired. Oh, those are the SOBs that are, talking about us in a way that maybe ownership, could deem, oh, they might be right. See, that's the thing that is a very, very difficult job. You think working for the Cowboys is easy. It's not, because the Joneses allow you to make it to where you could be super critical.
Oh, Jerry wants essentially he wants DallasCowboys.com. He wants it to be a news organization, and he wants unfiltered coverage.
Yeah.
He wants it genuine. He does not want a propaganda wing.
Not at all.
He is not Dan Snyder.
I'll never forget this. We were in Oxnard one year. This one was with DallasCowboys.com. It's probably 2-3 years ago. And Jason Garrett brings like all the staff, the people that are there like in marketing and DallasCowboys.com and all the people together, everybody but football operations people. So he's having this rah-rah meeting. And I looked at Derek Eagleton. I go, man, I do not feel good about being in this meeting. And it got to the point where Garrett actually took it personally, where he like, okay, everybody else in the of the team or the group got hoodies, got Yetis, got all the things. Mysteriously, DallasCowboys.com stuff all got lost. Couldn't find it. Didn't know where it was. That kind of thing. Like TV, all these people got like.
So everybody else, theirs were accounted for.
Everybody else's stuff was accounted for, but DallasCowboys.com. And I looked at Derek Eagleton and I go, hey, boss. I go, you know what? We don't need to do this anymore. We really don't. Because if we're gonna be critical of these guys, we gotta separate this. We can't be the rah-rah, that kind of. And we're part of the team and all that of the organization. But Derek agreed. And the next year we didn't go to the rah-rah meeting. Because like we felt like that it was more important to be separate from that. And give the type of coverage that the fans deserve.
Who do you think in that building, in the history of that building, when you were working at DallasCowboys.com, just despised you the most? It was like, oh, I want to punch Brian Broaddus in the face.
Oh, Brill Garrett, Jason's wife, really hated me. Matter of fact, we were getting Larry Wansley, who was in charge of security for the Cowboys. Great guy. I'd worked with Larry in NFL,
a legend
in NFL Europe. He was a spy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a legitimate legend.
He's a legitimate legend, spy guy. And so he set it up to where we could all get the global access to and we just all he had to do was go downstairs and register, and we got it. And man, it's just so easy to travel in and out of the country, or, TSA approved and all that. So Larry sets that up. Jason and Brill Garrett are down there getting set up the same time I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget Jason, the hate smile was number one. She wanted nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And like the looks, comments, I knew it. I mean, you could feel it when people were, that they wanted nothing to do with you. The football operations guys were the same way, because when you fire head coaches, football operations guys then get fired too, because maybe they want to bring in their own Rob Davis or somebody like that. So those guys in football operations were looking for any reason to get rid of me. They literally were looking for reasons for me to move on. And hopefully trying to create opportunities for me to move on.
I sometimes wonder, just doing the beat, because this. We talk about them a certain way, and it's funny. Almost everybody on the beat has a story about somebody in the building, whether they're there now or not, just taking issue with something you wrote and just saying like, hey, come here for a sec.
Yeah.
And just saying like, I did not like that. That wasn't fair. And so you'll get some of that sometimes. I I feel like it's gotten quieter since McCarthy went in there. I wonder if they just choose their, like, we're not even going to.
Well, the thing about it, I'll tell you, the one that I dealt with was, I've always told a story. I think people have heard this. Maybe if you're new to the program, welcome. The time that Jerry Jones confronted me in Valley Ranch.
Oh, yeah, when you're walking down the hall?
Walking down the hall, and he was coming right at me, and I'm thinking I'm just going to have a normal conversation with Jerry Jones, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Jones, how's it going? He's like, hey, Brian, great. Good to see you. Hey, by the way, you're kicking my ass pretty good right now. And I go, and all I could say was, yes, sir. And he goes, but you're fair. You've been fair about it. Keep up the great work. Doing a great job. Love you on DallasCowboys.com. And I literally went to my office and closed the door and I started almost crying. I really did. Yeah. Tears were running down my face because I thought,
anxiousness.
Well, that was it. Yeah. I thought I was done. But, the Jones family, they totally will work with you on things. Totally work with you on things. But like I said, there are people in that organization that do. They don't like you. They don't like me.
Sure.
They don't like people that are questioning their jobs.
Yeah, which I get also from their perspective.
Yeah.
Like if we're in a certain position that if given our job, if somebody's trying to tell me how radio is supposed to go or this or that.
Yeah.
There are times where it's like if you've not done the job before,
right.
How do you know what this job entails and what you're supposed to do? Right. So I get that same sort of understanding of like, you don't have my job, so you don't know what my job is. How
right.
can you so I understand when they get frustrated by it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about it is you just got to get, you got to get used to knowing that that's going to be the case. That you're in a building where you're likely not going to be the favorite a lot of people. I remember working in scouting and listening to guys like Todd Archer and Clarence Hill and guys like that, Calvin Watkins, Tim McMahon at the time. I remember those guys saying stuff about the team and people would be like at lunch kind of like bitching about, well, God, can you believe what Archer said? I'm like, he's right. Don't you guys realize he's right?
I think most everybody over there is of the opinion that most of the people I've ever encountered in the building are of the opinion that even when they don't like it, they're like, as long as you're fair, just don't be personal. Don't be snotty about it. Don't be a D, basically.
Yeah, I've always felt like that if you have a problem with me, you could come up and tell me you have a problem. Jason Witten did that with me one time. Well, I told he grabbed me in the locker room and said, hey, come here. Come here. And he dropped about 6 F-bombs on me. And I'm like, okay. And then, I was part of the staff that drafted him.
Yeah.
And I thought, he was a friend, but he dropped, seriously, he went off on me for something that I wrote and said, but that's what Jerry Jones, and I hope the documentary, I know we're talking about Jerry a little bit. Mm-hmm. I hope the documentary really dives into who he is. And there's a lot of things you probably can't get into.
10-part series.
Yeah.
If these are hour-long episodes, there's going to be plenty of it. Apparently, there's going to be unused footage from NFL films from over the years.
There you go.
Look, I'll close with this quote that Rick Goslin told me one time, the legendary Hall of Fame voter, former Dallas Morning News reporter. He said Jerry told him very early on, he said, I got big shoulders. I don't care what you write about me. Yeah. He said, just as long as you spell Dallas Cowboys right in your headline.
Yeah.
That's what he wants. Hour number 1 is in the books here. Bobby Belt, Brian Broaddus, and Justin Honore taking you up until Rangers pregame at noon. They've got the Red Sox at 12:30. Who are the top 25 NFL players under 25? We're going to talk about it next.
The K&C Masterpiece is on deck at 10, followed by Afternoons with G-Bag Nation. Join the list of all-day Tolos.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
From our fan studios secured by DFWsecurity.com, this is Sean and RJ on 105.3 The Fan.
Hour number 2 here of Sean and RJ 4th of July edition. We got started at 8 a.m. this morning, a little mid-morning. We're going to take you up to Rangers baseball pregame at noon. We got the Red Sox and the Rangers at 12:30. Bobby Belt alongside Brian Broaddus. We've got Justin Honore running the board here. Brian, happy 4th, and happy 4th to all of you listening. You can tell us what you're doing today on the truckwreck.com fan text 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. And just because it's 4th of July doesn't mean we're not going to do Ask Reddit, because it's still a Tuesday. So we're still going to do Ask Reddit at 9:20. But Brian, how are things?
Things are good. I've just kind of like on the breaks watching what's going on at Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of figured out a gig I couldn't do.
That's tennis, right?
Yeah, tennis. Okay. Couldn't be a ball boy or girl.
That the girl who was like flinging the
I could not
Holy cow.
These guys and gals, the precision they move with, the quickness they move with, there's no way in hell I could be one of those.
No.
There's this I would immediately I would pull hamstring, maybe blow out an Achilles trying to get the position to where I need to be. And another thing I started laughing at, there's Alcatraz, I think is her name. Carlos Alcatraz is
the prison, yeah.
The number 1 seed. I think that's how you pronounce the young man's last name. He's the number 1 seed at Wimbledon. His mom is an overly aggressive blower of kisses.
Oh, I'm glad you said of kisses.
Of kisses.
Yep. That's good.
Yeah, she's very excited about her son, I believe. It's moved on at Wimbledon, and so yes, very aggressive with the blowing of kisses.
That's good to know. All right, we are going to this is July 4th. Again, tell us what you're doing out on the truckwreck.com fan text 877-881-1053. But this is the period of the sports season where we got Rangers, we got Major League Baseball, and there's not a lot else going on in the world of sports.
Summer League.
Well, there's Summer League, too. You got that. Yeah, you got Chet
I'm going to pay attention to Summer League.
I'm going to be interested to watch Wembanyama. He will play, I believe,
July
Friday.
7th.
Yeah, I think Friday's his first game.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the time of the year where people are still looking to fill the content. So we get a lot of lists, Brian. And one of the most popular lists you'll get this time of year is the 25 under 25, ranking the top NFL players under 25. Now, this list comes to us from the 33rd team.
Oh, those are all my old guys.
I know. It was started by one of your buddies.
Yeah, Mike Tannenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
All the old fired guys.
Now, this is somebody this is a retired guy who used to work in your division when you were with the Packers. This is Jeff Diamond.
Jeff Diamond retired or get fired? I think he was a general manager.
He's retired now.
Anyway. I think he got fired.
Well, that would probably make
sense. I think a lot of people in the 33 got fired. Well, I'm just going to guess.
He is now retired. He's not looking for a job back in the NFL.
Okay.
He's been around for
a lot of us. It's been for a lot of us. It's been that way.
Did you deal with Jeff Diamond very much?
Not much. Saw him at meetings. Kind of competed against him. Like you said, with Minnesota, felt like he did a pretty good job. I liked his scouts. He had a kind of an old, crusty group of scouts. Seriously, they had like the old, and they all were when you saw them in a room, they all looked the same. Like. They all had like crew cut haircuts, like they're all from like the 50s kind of scouts.
Well, let's see.
Liked his room.
Let's see if he's got a crusty list here.
Okay.
Because I don't know. You guys may not be happy with where some of the Cowboys fall on this list. So Jeff Diamond writes that most of today's top college football players enter the NFL with a higher level of training in pro-style offenses and defenses and the nuances of their position. This is reflected in their early success on the field. On his list, he has 9 wide receivers. And he's only got 2 quarterbacks in his 25 under 25. So here are his top 25 players under the age of 25. Number 25, it's a Dallas Cowboy. It's Trayvon Diggs.
Oh, people are kind of figuring out where to put Trayvon Diggs. Do you put him as one of the top corners? Is he not in that list?
I think he's a top corner, personally. I know there's a lot of fight about it. I know Eric Chiafalo thinks he's Jock Reeves out there, but Trayvon Diggs is a very good player.
What time we got Krusty's Corner today? I meant to tell you.
10:40.
10:40. I've got some questions for you, and it has to do with the cornerback spot.
Oh, good.
So we could dig into that.
Maybe we'll get Eric on the phone to slander Trayvon Diggs a little bit. But Trayvon Diggs comes in at number 25. Couple corners ahead of him that I don't know that I'd agree with, but we'll continue to go down the list. Number 24, Chris Olave, wide receiver, the New Orleans Saints. He was a first-round pick last year, 72 catches, 1,042 yards in a Saints offense that wasn't exactly gangbusters.
Bad quarterback play, I'd say.
Number 23, Tariq Woolen, cornerback, Seattle Seahawks, UTSA product, 5th-round pick. What did you think about him?
I do not feel like I was wrong about him.
You liked him a lot?
I liked him a lot. You know what? I should have pulled up my notes about him. Maybe while we're going through this, I will pull up my notes.
He was like, measurement-wise, it makes sense that he would eventually end up in Seattle when you look at the history of what a Seattle corner looks like.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this guy's like 6'4". He ran a 4.26 at the combine. But a 5th-round pick who ended out being the co-leader in interceptions in the NFL last year with 16 passes defended. He's a good player. I don't know that he's better than Trayvon Diggs personally, but that's the list.
That's the list. My notes are firing up right now. Go through your guys, and I'll pull up my notes on him.
Number 22, Kyle Pitts, which I would say if you said
Kyle Pitts.
If you're saying Kyle Pitts is the 22nd best player under the age of 25 after 2 seasons, wouldn't that have been a little bit of a disappointment?
That's a huge disappointment, I would say, because now there's one I thought when you start to talk about 1 or 2 best players in the draft, Kyle Pitts was right there for me. So, yeah, that would be a little bit of a disappointment if he's hovering around 2023.
I liked Kyle Pitts. I just felt like there was specifically here in Dallas when people wanted him here, I was like, it's not going to expand the offense anymore. It's just going to change the way it's divvied up. I don't know that it makes them – I didn't know that it made them any more –
I thought he was the next kind of – I thought he was that Kelsey.
You know who he's kind of turning out to be?
Who?
In terms of all the hype around him, has been good, but hasn't been so good that like people are calling him kind of a bust because he hasn't been what they thought. And maybe he turns it around the way this guy did. Vernon Davis.
Oh,
you remember when Vernon Davis was coming out? And it was the same talk about Vernon Davis of like, this is the biggest freak we've ever seen, and he's going to be incredible. And he was good early, but he wasn't incredible. And so people got frustrated. After a while, where he was picked and the pre-draft hype kind of disappeared. And I think people ended out feeling a lot better about Vernon Davis by the time his career
This is dangerous, what I'm about to do with Woolen real quick.
Yep.
We'll line up on both sides of the format. This is games I watched to him. Western Kentucky, Illinois. Long, rangy build allows him to play press. He can be a little hit and miss with his technique. The ability to stay with this man is there, but there's also snaps where he loses track of where he is on the field and gives up plays. Can be super aggressive in his approach, or super soft as well. There's snaps where you're wondering if you're watching the same guy. See,
you were high on him.
Here we go. We'll see him go in and out of the lineup as part of a rotation. Length helps him play the ball down the field. Has some risky technique where he doesn't always look for the ball, but somehow knocks it away. There's nothing really smooth or fluid about his game, and it might be due to his size. I feel like there's snaps where he's freelancing, but to his credit, he will come up with the play. Got smoked in a double move versus Western Kentucky, but also came back to make some big plays. Confusing, and you could really get a good player or one that's going to have you shaking your head after each game. It sounds like I didn't really have this player right. I said I did.
That still sounds, that's kind of who he was. He is a risk taker.
6'4", 205.
Yep.
But that was, I thought for some reason I thought I had him better. It seems like that I had more questions about him, but I'm also saying that he can make plays with even the deficiencies that he had.
Yeah.
So
I think you get credit here.
All right, let's
run through some of these names here. Number 21.
I just cut myself on that one.
I will never remember how to pronounce the guy's first name. Hufanga, though, the safety from the 49ers. He's number 21. Number 20, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, New York Jets.
Yeah.
Interesting. This one might be a little bit low, I think, especially given the quarterback position. Number 19, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Jacksonville Jaguars.
I think that's a little low.
That feels a little low, doesn't it?
Feels a little low, yeah. I think Doug Peterson has helped him a ton.
Now we got to run on receivers here. Number 18, Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, Detroit Lions.
Good player.
Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles.
Good player.
T. Higgins, wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals.
Love T. Higgins. Now, that's one I remember. I could read his notes, and they're all good.
This is one that I know you liked him a lot. Number 15, Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle, Minnesota Vikings.
I did. Virginia Tech.
I was a big Darrisaw fan as well. Number 14, Jonathan Taylor, running back, Indianapolis Colts. Number 13, Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, Detroit
Okay,
Lions.
there's another guy that you would think is a little bit lower than where you thought he was going to be coming out of college.
And I think his first year was not great.
Nope.
He was young, though. He was
playing right tackle for these guys, right?
He was barely 20 years old when he got into the NFL. Yeah. And so, he was a younger guy, but last year, he was really good last year. And he was, I think he made the Pro Bowl. If he didn't, he had a Pro Bowl type of year.
Whole trip and clip. That's what you got to learn.
Number 12, Jalen Waddle, receiver, Dolphins. Number 11, Andrew Thomas from the Giants. A lot of people think Andrew Thomas has the potential to be the best tackle in football eventually.
Wow.
Number 10, Rashawn Slater, tackle, Chargers.
That was my guy.
Number 9, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboys.
And I think he can even be better.
Yeah. I
really do. I hope they use him the way he needs to be used.
Let's see if you have any problem with any of these guys ahead of CeeDee Lamb. Number 8, Creed Humphrey, center, Chiefs.
Love Creed
Humphrey's a great player. I don't know that a center and the value that's there, I would say I'd put.
This guy.
He's really good.
He's got rare ability. Left-handed, too, which is hilarious to watch.
I'll be honest, and this is no reflection of him as a player, so nobody complain about me saying this because we got a lot of OU fans right here.
Yeah.
The most boring interview I've ever done in my life.
Creed Humphrey?
That dude just had nothing to say. And I remember I brought it up to somebody in the NFL. I was like, man, I interviewed Creed Humphrey. He was incredibly boring. They're like, wow, you're shocked that an Oklahoma offensive lineman was boring.
Hell of a player, though, man.
He is.
I love him.
Number 7, Patrick Surtain, the second cornerback, Denver Broncos.
I think we were all right about him.
Yeah. Yep. Number 6, Sauce Gardner, cornerback, New York Jets.
Loved him.
Arguably best cornerback in the NFL right out of the gate.
Yep.
Number 5, Jamar Chase, wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Number 4, Tristan Wirfs, tackle, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Thought he was Walter Jones coming out of college.
He's really, really good.
Yep.
I do think that Andrew Thomas is somebody that's closer to him than that, though, than having that big a gap. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. Number 3, Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is not, in most every list you see like this, Micah Parsons is 1. If he's not 1, he's 2.
Yeah.
And he's number 3 here. Would you like to take a guess at who the 2 players are in front of him?
No.
Number 2.
Because it's hard to believe.
Justin Jefferson, Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
I get it. Jefferson's incredible. If you want to put him above there, I won't fight you on it.
Okay.
Here's where I'm going to fight you. Number 1, Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
I think that, and Hurts was really good last year.
Yeah. MVP good.
I don't think that we've seen it for long enough with Hurts, and I know we're talking about under 25, so there's only so much you can play. But when we talk about Mike Parsons, we're talking about he stepped in both years, was great.
Second year, this guy got his team the NFC, get him to the championship game and then the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Second year.
He struggled, though, in 2020, struggled in 21. 22, he was better, but I still think there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors there. A little bit with the passing game.
I think the passing game has probably been his most improved thing.
He has definitely improved at it, but I think it's still a little smoke and mirrors in terms of I don't think we're ever going to talk about Jalen Hurts being a top 15 passer in the NFL.
But we're going
just a passer.
But we're going to talk about him being a guy that's playoff sound and finding a way to get his team there and winning divisions, right? We're going to have to deal with this guy for the next 5 to 8 years, don't you think?
No.
You don't?
No. I think he's good. I don't think he's ever going to have a year like he had last year. That's just me.
So you're saying regression. You're calling regression for the. You're actually telling me.
I don't know about regression. The league catching up to the tricks of everything that they're doing in Philly.
New coordinator there hurt or help him? Brian Johnson, right?
Maybe can only help in the sense that it's something that the league was going to pick up on tendencies. So if you're going to change some things up and got a new voice in there, it might actually help in terms of picking up on tendencies. But I don't know. I just think if you're starting an organization right now, even with the value of quarterback, I would say you take Micah Parsons before you take Jalen Hurts. I think Micah Parsons is a better player, and he gives you a ton of value. But that's just me. All right, so that is the top 25 players under the age of 25. It is a Tuesday. That means it is time for Ask Reddit. It doesn't matter that it's 4th of July. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday. Sean and RJ aren't here. We're still going to get this in. So coming up next, we're going to do Ask Reddit on 105.3 The Fan.
Voted one of America's.
for a free consultation at truckwreck.com or call 214 or 817-3333, 3333.
Do you have a question, Kelly?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
That's right. It is a Tuesday, which means it's Ask Reddit, which we normally do at 7:20 on Tuesdays, but we weren't on the air till 8 today. It's myself, Bobby Belt, alongside Brian Broaddus. We've also got Justin Honore with us, and we're going to be doing a little bit of Ask Reddit on your 4th of July celebration. You guys can weigh in on the truckwreck.com fan text 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. You can also tell us what you're doing today. Like maybe you're like Hayden, who is out there in Salina doing some maintenance at a new apartment complex, listening to us this morning. Appreciate you listening, Hayden. And Tolo Trey, who's listening. In fact, Brian, you're going to have to come up at 10. You're going to need to come up with some tips. Tolo Trey's going to be making some burrito tacos.
Yeah.
And he wants you to weigh in with maybe some tips at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to give you some time to think about it.
I'll tell you who you need to reach out with those types of things with tacos and things like that. I'm like your seafood expert.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the crawfish season's over. Usually around the 4th of July. This crawfish season ended early this year, so I couldn't get my normal, number of boils in.
Mm-hmm.
But Sean Sharif is excellent when it comes to like specialty tacos or specialty meats and things like that. When it comes to, he's really, really good at doing those things.
He does
reach out to him. He's very helpful in that. Sean sometimes could be a pain in the rear, but majority of the time he could be very helpful when it comes to cooking.
Burrito tacos, because it's certainly not brisket. He's not going to be able to give you any good tips on that.
On briskets?
Yeah, just totally dry as hell.
I'll tell you we all follow him and stuff. You see when like people send him these pictures, and like he just is like blatantly honest. Like he just wrecks your day. Here you are. You spent like 9-10 hours doing a brisket. Is that thing? How dry is that?
Yeah. He does not censor it.
He does not mince words when it comes to. But when you put something out there that looks like super appetizing to him, he is like all about that. He is all about that.
First question here on Ask Reddit, and again, you guys can weigh in on the truckwreck.com fan text as well. Brian brought us, what is a harsh reality that you think everybody needs to hear?
A harsh reality that you're not always right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're just not always right. And I've learned that. I swear, I've tried to be more open-minded about a lot of things. I mean, I got in a discussion the other day about, something with the whole vaccine thing. And, I'm like, hey, it's a guy's choice, good for him and that kind of thing. And, you just try to be more open-minded. And I just don't think I don't think people are all that in this day and age. I think you have to be you have to be more compassionate about things, more of an understanding of things. We live in a kind of a harsh world. But I think you have to be a little bit more compassionate and open-minded about things and get along in life.
Yeah, I think my harsh reality that everybody needs to hear is nobody's going to hold your hand. Like once you're an adult, nobody it's not quite you're on your own, but I mean at the end of the day it's up to you once you reach adulthood. That's the kind of thing we're trying to get through to the 17-year-old right now.
Yeah.
As he's getting closer and closer to adulthood is like, dude, like this is coming up. Like pretty soon, you're responsible for your life decisions and lots of other things.
I deal with a 19-year-old right now that's that way. I say, we just can't keep bailing you out of things.
Mm-hmm.
We can't keep like showing up with a checkbook and thinking everything's going to be okay here.
Yeah.
You've got to figure things out a little bit better than, and that's like I say, it's, like very fortunate with Bennett, he's super smart and, does things for the most part the right way. And then there's things like he'll make mistakes. I'm like, son, you just weren't thinking what you were doing there. You simply could have avoided that and you didn't, and I totally get what you're saying.
Justin, you got one, a harsh reality everybody needs to hear?
He or she is not that into you.
That's true. That is true. Yeah. You need to have more realistic. But see, on the flip side of that, like there is also the person who's just completely oblivious to the person that is that into them.
Yeah.
It seems to be there's polar opposites. Either you're completely blind to it or you are, you're way.
But see, that's just, that's only temporary though.
Yes, that's true.
That could quickly fade at the blink of an eye.
Yeah, no, that's it. 972, no one is coming to save you.
Yeah.
214, nothing in life has any meaning until you assign it one. 214, Bobby is an idiot. Yep, you got to hear me on that. Let's see here. We've also got 940, a harsh reality is when someone is honest about your health and non-healthy lifestyle. Absolutely, those are things somebody needs to hear. All right, next question here. What quietly went away without anyone noticing? And I'll answer this one first because it's not a serious one. It's kind of a joke. But I noticed it yesterday while I was driving. Jack in the Box antenna balls. I saw somebody had one yesterday on their car, and I was like, I saw those everywhere as a kid. Like every car had them, and then one day they just didn't, and I didn't even notice that they didn't anymore. It just completely went away. Truckwreck.com fan text and give theirs 877-881-1053. What quietly went away without no one noticing, Broadus?
Is it quietly or not? Did us wearing masks everywhere?
That was kind of a flip, depending on where you're living, I guess.
That was, when I see people with them on today, I kind of go.
So it makes you go, oh, wow.
Whoa, what are we're still doing this? Kind of a thing. It seemed like we were all we ever were doing were wearing masks. And then it went to like, not anymore. I'm not going to do it. And here I'm talking about the COVID and things like that, but did it seem like it?
Yeah.
That like
it was just
everywhere you went, you had a mask on, and then all of a sudden it's like, then we were not wearing masks anymore.
Yeah. Now, this is I know 214. It's because most cars don't have big antennas anymore. I know that's why, but it just that also happened overnight where cars just didn't have big antennas anymore. I was like, where'd the antennas go? So that's one of them. Also 214, Facebook poke wars. Yeah, like when people used to do the poke back and forth on Facebook, which was weird. I always thought that was a little weird, but they would do that.
Facebook to me is a great way to keep up with people's birthdays. That's kind of what I use it for. I really don't interact on it a whole much, but if I follow you, it's probably because you're a teammate of mine from LSU or high school or a high school friend. Otherwise, I get a lot of people that request me. If I don't know who you are, I'm not going to follow you. I'm sorry.
940 people having landlines. That was kind of a flip where one day just nobody had a landline anymore.
Yeah.
Because I remember
I moved into a place. I moved into an older condo that has all the jacks, the wall jacks for phones, and there seemed like there were two in every room. You know, that like the kitchen, the living room, the bedrooms. There were like multiple phone jacks.
Justin, what went away without people noticing?
The Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, nobody really drives those anymore.
Sorority girls, you ever hang out in Texas and Austin? Those girls never drove.
Not anymore.
Nobody's driven a Volkswagen Beetle since Mandy Moore in the Candy video.
I've seen the video. I've seen the Beetles with the ladies that drive them, and they got the sunflower on the by the air conditioning thing, or on the wheel or something like that. No, you could go over to SMU. I guarantee you, they got some ladies driving those little Beetles.
I don't know. I don't see them very much. Justin, when did you get? Are you still in college or did you get out?
I graduated 2018.
Okay, so you've graduated already. Like you didn't? Did you see him on campus?
No, I mean the kind of the car choice now is kind of like that Jeep Wrangler or like.
Okay.
Yeah, or like we have Ryan, who's actually running the video from home today. Shout out to Ryan, even though he's not physically here today. Ryan would always drive one of those little I think it's the Kia Soul. It's like the box one. Yeah. He's not driving it anymore, but I feel like I see a lot of the boxes more than the bugs.
The Cube is the funny one. The Cube car. It was like a. Who does the Cube? I think I had one in California.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know who it was. Yeah. Next one here. Brian, have you ever listened to a person talk, and truckwreck.com fan text, have you ever listened to a person talk for less than a minute and known you weren't going to get along with that person?
No.
Never?
No.
Not one time you've talked to somebody for a minute and gone, oh, okay.
Like I said, I'm one of those, you have to prove to me you're an idiot.
Ooh, I'm going to sound like a real jackass here in a second then. Justin, have you ever talked to somebody for less than a minute and known you guys weren't going to get along?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Maybe this is our generation. Not our generation. I don't want to totally claim to be, you're younger than I am. I'm getting old. I'm getting gray hair. But I feel like most every first interaction I have within the first minute, I'm deciding whether or not we're going to get along very quickly.
It's always... if someone says something stupid within, not necessarily oh, that's an unintelligent take, but something questionable that they would say
right
off the bat. I'm like, okay, I'm just now meeting you for the first time. You feel comfortable enough to say that?
Yeah, I get whenever it's usually, and it's not like you're a bad person sort of way. But I have had several discussions before, or I've talked to somebody before, where they just come at it with like a "Hey everybody" energy the very first time you're meeting them, and I'm like, oh nope, this isn't gonna work. If you within 1 minute feel this comfortable to come at me with that energy, you're probably gonna annoy me.
I'm a little bit more I think I'm the opposite. I think because like I was on a couple of different podcasts here recently of people that were like critical of things that I said, so I wanted to give them an opportunity. And I went in there with the attitude of like, you know what, I'm going to let these people say what they want to say, and I'm not going to hate them or anything like that.
But not hate them, but just know we're probably never going to be friends.
Well, you make it sound like, well, yeah, if you're, I think that's kind of hate, isn't it? We're never
I don't think
friends.
it's hate. It's just like I don't particularly want to hang out with you or talk to you.
I just feel like that, like I said, the whole thing with the open mind. That's kind of what I'm trying to keep nowadays.
Oh, open-minded broadest. Look at that. Yeah. All right, 214. Yeah, I knew I hated Bobby right away. 940, 100%. I'm a manager at a gas station, and for me, it takes 15 seconds. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it, for a lot of people I know, is based on, like, especially with how divided we are. If you say something political, a lot of people instantly are just going to go, we're not going to get along if you're telling me something political that, but who's talking about politics within the first minute?
There are people that do.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, that sounds incredibly off-putting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's just me. Anyway, that is Ask Reddit here on July 4th. Thank you for hanging out with us here on your Independence Day. Let us know on the truckwreck.com what you're doing. Truckwreck.com fan text what you're doing today. 877-881-1053. 877-881-1053. The Texas Rangers bullpen is in trouble again, even after trading for Aroldis Chapman. What needs to be the team's next move? We'll talk about it next on 105.3 The Fan.
Coming up in the next G-Bag Nation, we'll be back after the 4th of July. Chris Young, Rangers GM, joins us at 4:20 as we recap the first game of Red Sox and Rangers. Join the nation 2 to 5:30 on The Fan.
You're all set with your new Navien water heater.
I can't wait to take a shower without running out of hot water. I'm just going to love my Navien tankless water heater. I just want to say thank you.
Oh, no need to say that, ma'am. You'll always love Navien's high efficiency that will save you money on gas bills compared to other water.
Bring first baseman Nathaniel Lowe with Jared Sandler on the Odyssey app and everywhere podcasts are found. Pull back the curtain opinions with former Rangers pitchers Mike Bassick and Derek Holland on the KNC Masterpiece. And of course, we are your proud home of the Rangers with post-game shows after every game. Let's enjoy this Rangers ride together right here on The Fan.
1 inning each. Garcia swings here, hits a high drive to left center. McCormick at the track at the wall. He looks out of here. We're tied up. Adolis Garcia, his 21st home run of the year. It is 10-10.
And you just felt like it was on their side yesterday. Lady Luck was on their side. The Rangers were going to pull it out. They went ahead 11-10 in the bottom of the 8th, and it didn't work out that way. Brian Broaddus. The Rangers lose to the Astros 12-11. They lose the series, lose 3 out of 4 there, and they will head to Boston. They are on the road against the Red Sox today. We'll actually, at noon, chat with Jared Sandler, or at 11:40, chat with Jared Sandler, leading up to the noon pregame show. And then 12:30, we have Rangers versus the Red Sox. Dane Dunning, I believe, going for the Rangers this afternoon.
He is.
And a couple promo notes really quickly before we jump into some of this Rangers talk and where they go now with this bullpen, which is funny since you just made the Aroldis Chapman trade and you were hoping that was going to fix some of this, but some other names that we might be able to kick around a little bit. Before we do that, this Friday, you're going to want to come out to Grand Prairie Fire Station number 9. It is 315 West Polo Road in Grand Prairie. And we are going to be out there thanks to Central Roofing. And we're going to have a lot of giveaways for you guys. Tolo bumper stickers. We're going to have breakfast tacos served by Rudy's. We're going to have C4 energy drinks to pass out. Very excited to get back out there. The first remote, Brian Broaddus, in the post-COVID era. Sean and RJ have not been out on the road since COVID. Not because of COVID, but just haven't been out since then. And so this will be like the first remote, I believe, in about 4 years for the morning show. I'm excited. It's going to be my first. Here's how excited I am, guys. I'm going to be on the air at 5:30. I'll show up at 5:30 to be on the air for the remote. I won't show up at 6 like I normally do.
Do you feel like the firemen will give you like grief if you come rolling in there late? Is that kind of one of those things where you're kind of
maybe I'm trying to shared suffering a little bit, the early wake up call.
I'm not, you know what? I would be happy to trade with you. I love my show.
Uh-huh.
And I love the guys I work with, and Lucius and Wooly Bully and Chief and Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
Carter when he comes in with us. But I would love to do the show like 5:30 to 10 every day.
It can be a little difficult though because the prep the night before, so it ends up kind of eating up the evening too. So it's you're on the air in the morning and then your prep is the evening, so it kind of takes up a lot of the day.
I just kind of feel like though that to me being done at 10 and kind of having a couple hours to
there are definite benefits.
Catch your breath, and then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, well I'll go back and watch, or I'll go back and get a little bit better handle, or I'll go make calls, or I'll go exercise, or I'll go, it just seemed like if you told me my day could be done by 10 a.m., my work day would be done. Now, I know we work because we have to continue to prep and call people and go to practices and stuff like that. Now, where you're going to have a problem is doing that show from training camp.
I don't think I am. Because there's not going to be jet lag that quick.
3:30 in the morning.
It'll still feel like 5:30 to me physically.
You're going to be on that tennis court.
The problem is going to be me stopping myself from staying out till midnight in California. Yeah. That's what I'm going to have to stop myself from
you no longer have me as a roommate to remind you what you need to not do that.
Right. Well, I mean that's I didn't have you as a roommate in Arizona, and look what happened on Radio Row that morning when I went way too hard at the media party. So that happens. Anyway, come see us at Grand Prairie Fire Station number 9. Again, thank you to C4, Central Roofing, Rudy's. This is going to be a great time. We're going to be doing a number of these firehouse tours, and we start off with Grand Prairie on Friday, 315 West Polo Road. Okay, Brian, the Texas Rangers, as we mentioned, dropped this game yesterday. And it's the second game in a row where the bullpen fell apart for you at the end of the game. Mm-hmm. And so now you start looking around and you say, all right, there's still got to be, you've still got to add to this bullpen. you still need to find some parts for this bullpen to help it sustain a little bit. Aroldis Chapman can't be the only thing. And Aroldis Chapman has looked great. Pitched on these back-to-back days, looked really good. I'm almost certain he wouldn't be available today since he already pitched back-to-back days. But he has looked really, really good. And I know Will Smith and Josh Spores kind of gave it up for you these last 2 days. Yeah. Jankowski didn't play the ball great yesterday. It wasn't totally on Will Smith, I guess. But Will Smith and Josh Spores giving it up the last 2 days. That's been a little bit frustrating. But you expect that those guys will get back on track. Still, you probably need another arm. And we had talked last week here on the morning show with John Morosi from MLB Network. And he had thrown out a number of names of like, hey, watch these guys maybe as guys that could be dealt and then guys that Texas would potentially be in on. And one of them was Aroldis Chapman. So we've already got that one. So I think it makes some sense to kind of look back at some of the other names that he said. So we got 5 names here to potentially consider. First one, Josh Hader, the multiple-time all-star closer for the San Diego Padres. Obviously made his name with the Milwaukee Brewers, but he is having a career year. His ERA is 1.17. His FIP is 2.28. His WHIP is under 1. He has been fantastic, still striking out a number of guys, limiting home runs. He's somebody that could be dynamite for them in the back end of the bullpen. The only question about Josh Hader would be, are the Padres willing to bail? They're only 7 games under 500 or whatever it is, but in the NL West, that puts them 11.5 back. Does San Diego start saying a little bit like, okay, let's move some guys? Because as John Morosi pointed out, when you start your fire sale, you generally are going to start it with the relievers. Like the relievers are the easiest guys to move off of. So if Josh Hader's a guy that you can go get, the question then becomes how much you're willing to give up for him. And even if the Padres would engage you on that. But either way, Josh Hader's somebody who I think would be a really intriguing addition for them. Somebody who over the course of his career averages 15 strikeouts per 9 innings. His ERA is 2.58 for his career. That's a dominant bullpen guy that you could add. So definitely somebody that's worth looking at there, I think.
Yeah, I think then when you start to talk about guys like Josh Hader, and you look at, to me, with pitching, and especially with bullpen help, I look at like the opponents. Now look in these situations, how has he done? And you look at just an example, the last 5 games, he's come in and he's done a great job against the Angels, who you're competing against. He's done a great job against the Rays. A couple of saves on back-to-back days for the Padres playing the Rays. That's a formidable lineup. The Rangers saw that. The Rangers had some bullpen problems against the Rays earlier when they met in the season.
Yep.
So if I always look at like, how do these pitchers perform against the best of the best? And, when you start talking about potential playoff matchups and things like that, I'm all about them going out and getting a guy like that I could say could come in, gets pitches an inning, and 2 of his 3 outs are strikeouts.
Yeah,
that's what you got to have with your relief pitchers.
Couple of cheaper options potentially, guys that are not going to be as dominant as a guy like Hader. You look at the Mets. The Mets have invested so much, but they are 19 games back now. And you've got a couple of veteran relievers there who are not of the quality of Hader, but are still solid relievers in Major League Baseball. David Robertson, the longtime Yankees reliever, who's now pitching with the Mets, and Adam Ottavino, who had spent a long time with the Colorado Rockies. So Ottavino and Robertson were 2 guys that Morosi mentioned that could get moved if the Mets decided, hey, we've got to start pushing some people out. And again, because it's easy to move some of those relievers a little bit, those would be names you could consider. Ottavino's peripherals are not as great as Robertson and Hader. So he's got a 3.97 ERA, but his FIP is 4.94. And the FIP is basically, this is what your ERA should look like given walks, strikeouts, other things. Couple of interesting names there. But the one that I think is interesting with the Mets, if they decide to start selling, and it'd probably be a little bit of a bigger ask, but it's something that I heard Mike Peasley mention to you guys yesterday. The idea of Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
That if you need, because I know you mentioned you think they need a bat right now. Just as much as they may need a bullpen guy or a top-of-the-line starter, a Dylan Cease from Chicago, or you go and get, go get a guy like Mitch Keller from Pittsburgh if they'd be willing to give him up. But just as much as you need that, you might need somebody who can come in here and really contribute as a DH, and he is somebody, Tommy Pham, who could step in and do that role. That so far with the Mets this year, he's slashing 295, 362, and 530, so his OPS is 892. That'd be a very big bat that you could bring in here. So I don't know, maybe you put together some package, say, give us Tommy Pham, give us David Robertson. You kind of kill two birds with one stone there.
Yeah, I asked a GM buddy of mine in the league about Tommy Pham, and this was on June 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and asked because we were kind of kicking around just like we're doing right now, and I asked, I go, Tommy Pham, ? Worth a trade option? And my GM buddy said, yeah, he can hit both left and right-handed pitching. Defense has always been hit and miss. Would suggest it's slightly below average, but capable. His range isn't great, but it's manageable. If your center fielder can cover a lot of ground, which your center fielder can cover a lot of ground here. His personality isn't for everyone. Intense, somewhat volatile. Would definitely add a thump to a corner outfield for the Rangers. Probably wouldn't cost too much in prospect capital to acquire him. So that is another general manager's view in the league about a Tommy Pham addition.
And you're talking about a guy who would be a DH for you. So some of that defensive liability you wouldn't be concerned with. I guess the one thing you might have some questions about, talking about there in that text that you got, is that the volatility of the personality. Do you want to potentially have a volatile personality or somebody that comes in here and messes up the chemistry of a really, really good team? And then really quickly, just we won't have time to dive into him, but a couple of the other names that he had mentioned last week, John Morosi, if Detroit decides to start moving guys, Jason Foley and Alex Lang, two relievers to watch there. But there are some of the names you could potentially look at for the Rangers to address their bullpen issues. We are halfway done here. Bobby Belt alongside Brian Broaddus. We got Justin Honore on the board. Coming up next, what is a single question? What are some of your litmus test questions for Cowboys fans and NFL fans that tell you whether or not they know what they're talking about? We'll get into that next here on 105.3 The Fan.
We have your latest Dallas Stars. Masterpiece on 105.3 The Fan.
You're about to be masterpiece. Kevin Hagelin, Brian Broaddus, or something. I don't do a very good Hagee. I try.
But you got to kind of, well,
gentlemen, how is you today?
Yeah,
one of those a little bit. I had fun with Hagee yesterday, by the way, on our alternative broadcast, our alternative Rangers broadcast.
You know what, I'm signed up for that thing.
You are? You haven't done any of them yet, though, right?
No, I have not.
It's me, Zach, and Hagee. We rotate.
I've trained on it though. I mean, but I should. I guess I should do this.
I mean, it's fun. It's like 45 minutes basically. We sit there in the app and
I have 45 minutes of fun with you on Love of the Star.
Exactly.
So I kind of feel like you
get your fill of fun of.
I do. I get my fill of fun on Love of the Star. And by the way, thanks to all the guys and gals out there that take in the Love of the Star. We really do appreciate you.
Bobby Belt here alongside Brian Broaddus. We've got Justin Honore on the board. And yeah, this is the Love of the Star takeover of the morning slot here. We're with you all the way up until noon when Rangers pregame starts. Rangers and Red Sox get started at 12:30 today. And this was a topic I had seen on Reddit, Brian. And I found it to be an interesting question that I thought we could kick around here with Tolos on the truckrack.com fan text, 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053, and also get your thoughts on it.
By the way, this was when you gave me this topic.
Mm-hmm.
I really had a hard time with it. I'm interested to see how this is going to go.
Do you have a hard time with it because you're concerned about the idea of being the arbiter of truth? Like being like,
I didn't know how to really answer the question.
Well, here is the question.
The litmus test, right?
Yeah, basically. And we'll let you guys weigh in on the fan text, like I said. The question
Maybe
is...
I'll figure it out as we go along.
What is a single question that you could ask another Cowboys fan where the answer lets you know whether or not you'd even want to engage in football talk with them? Basically, the question that just says...
I got one here.
All right, do you know what you're talking about or don't you? And obviously, it could be as simple as like, somebody saying... I don't know, something ridiculous. Like I mean, I know everybody's going to assume that I would jump straight to, well, if you think Dak sucks, then I can't help you. I can't help you if you think Dak sucks. This actually inspired me because somebody I remember years ago, it was not even a Cowboy fan, somebody said their litmus test for talking to an NFL fan of understanding of, do you watch the games and understand the games, or are you just taking talking points and kind of doing that sort of, they said their litmus test was Romo. That if somebody said Romo sucks, then it made them say, okay, you don't know football. I can't talk football with you. If you think Romo sucks, I can't talk football with you. And that was somebody who was not even a Cowboys fan. That was just an NFL fan that I knew. But I'll let you go first since you've got an answer. What is your question?
I think if I asked you a question about Malik Hooker and you told me that Malik Hooker's like, boy, you could really do some great things with Malik Hooker at safety, I don't think you're watching the Cowboys play. I really do believe that they need to be better at free safety. And if you're one of those guys or gals that are super positive about Malik Hooker, I don't know if you're really watching the defense play.
I don't know that I'm super positive about Hooker. I feel like Hooker doesn't...
Am I too critical of Malik Hooker? I mean, I do feel like he is one of those guys that needs to be replaced on the defense.
I think you could get better there. I don't know that you're going to easily get better there for the dollar amount.
It's weird. There's this weird...
He's inconsistent. There are times where he's good, I think, and then there are other times where he's just... I have no idea what he's doing.
I kind of feel like, man, this might be just a way out of, swinging out of the box kind of a thing. I kind of feel like I'd rather see like Jordan Lewis move to free safety. And maybe the physical traits aren't there for a free safety.
I mean,
I feel like he's super smart. He sees the field well. He tackles well enough. You can match him up. If you're going to use Wilson and Curse
as their box guys,
as those box guys, that maybe you could play Lewis deep enough. He's always kind of around the ball, That's what I really like about him.
He's got good ball skills. I think he was all-state wide receiver when he played at Cass Tech in high school. So I mean, Jordan Lewis played receiver in high school. He's got ball skills. He is physical. He's smaller, but he has no fear.
If you told me another one, if you told me Israel Mukuamu is not really a good player, as a bust, I don't think you're watching the game either.
Now, I don't know how much you would have gotten a chance to have seen him, but when we see him, he looks good.
Yeah, we have we're fortunate we get to watch him in practices and stuff like that. And you can kind of see him move around. You can see him play in the slot. And for a tall guy, he's got the range and the ability that you like. But if you told me I could do without Israel Mukuamu, I kind of feel like that maybe you're really not watching the game. Because I think there's going to be a place for him on this defense. I think they're going to figure out a role for him, maybe in that sub package where we talk about the nickel, the dime, the 5-6 defensive backs coming on the field. This is where I think Israel Mukuamu might be one of those guys, especially in the dime stuff.
Here's the question that I would throw out there. Do you think Terrence Steele should be the starter at right tackle? If the answer's no, then I don't know that you're watching the games. Like, I think you're living off of Tyron Smith's previous reputation, and you're thinking he's still the same guy, or you're thinking, well, he was good at right tackle last year. He wasn't. He was not good at right tackle last year.
He really wasn't.
Now, that's why I say I narrow it down to Terrence Steele starting at right tackle, because I don't want to say, if you think Tyron should start at left tackle still and Tyler Smith should play at left guard for now, I disagree with that, but it doesn't mean I can't talk football with you. If you just flat out think the tackles should be Tyron at right and Tyler at left, it's like, I don't know what you watched last year. And I don't know what you've seen that tells you that's the way it should be, other than you're just going off of reputation and things like that. So that would be the one for me. A couple of the answers that we're getting here on the truckwreck.com fan text. Let's see what you think about these, Brian. First one, the Alec Medford special. Name the teams in each division. So they feel like if you can't name the teams in each division, they're not going to be able to talk football with you. Cowboys question here. Does Dak actually suck, or do you just hate the guy?
I think there's a lot of sports hate going on there with Dak. Well, I don't think there's anything you could say negative about Dak as off the field or leadership or anything like that.
What's his floor? If you were to rank the quarterbacks in the NFL, what's his floor to you? Like, top what?
Oh, I think he's top 8 quarterback.
So would you say if somebody says if somebody tries to argue he's outside the top 15, is that something you go, okay, well, I can't talk football with you?
No, I can't.
And that's where I think that we all have disagreements about where he ranks. I would think it's silly to have him outside the top 10. If you have him outside, for me, the top 12, I'm like, you're really stretching to try and find 12 quarterbacks you could find that are better than him.
I can understand being critical of him.
Mm-hmm.
I can't understand the hate for him as a player.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, I totally get it.
I mean, if you want to be critical, and I feel a lot of his shortcomings are due to his absolute overtrust in guys that let him down. Like the Noah Browns, the Michael Gallups.
Mm-hmm.
There were several guys, and he just kept saying, you know what, I'm just going to keep throwing you the ball. I'm going to keep trusting that I'm throwing you the ball, that it's going to work out.
With Gallup, do you think basically that was something that did he have the right amount of trust in Michael Gallup pre-injury, and then when the guy came back and he maybe wasn't the same after the ACL, do you think it's possible that just Dak maybe didn't adjust quick enough, or Dak went, oh, okay, this isn't the same guy I developed trust with?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue. I think he was happy to see 13 back out on the field. I don't think 13 was ready to play last year. And I think Dak is one of those guys that if you're lined up in that huddle with him, he is going to find ways to get you the ball. And he didn't go away from that fast enough. Like Noah Brown and others. I mean, it should have been like just feed Schultz, feed Lamb, feed Pollard if you can, but he should have pivoted quicker away from those guys that were causing him turnovers.
Next one here, we've got from the 281, the people who always talk about how many criminals are on the Cowboys. That's kind of an expired take.
That's one. They're absolutely right.
If you're just that. All they do is they have all the crooks. Yeah. That's not.
They keep reverting back to the White House days.
They had a bad stretch.
They did.
No
they
doubt.
Absolutely had a bad stretch. But I think it started to kind of turn around in the Garrett administration, and they've had far less problems under the McCarthy administration.
Here's a really interesting one from the 817 and we're talking about litmus test questions, like the questions you would ask a Cowboy fan that their answer would tell you if you feel like you can actually talk intelligently with them about football. The person who still blames Jerry for everything.
That's very convenient to do.
Because he's somebody who I think it was more relevant maybe 20 years ago than it is now.
Absolutely.
He very much delegates and submits to consensus.
Yeah.
I think he will pull rank every now and then, but it's not a ton. I think there have been plenty of times in recent years where he has not agreed with what the consensus said, but the consensus said something. He went, "I'm trusting you guys. We're doing it this way."
Yeah. He is very, it's almost low hanging fruit too, because it's the easiest thing when things go bad. It's easy to blame Jerry. It's a lot harder to really dig in and figure out, well, wait a minute now. The offensive line coach doesn't really like this guy, or the running back coach is, the whole thing with Malik Davis and the things that we were learning about Malik. Everybody's like, why weren't they playing Malik?
Yeah.
Why were they? What's the problem? Why
Pollard
goes down and so you start blaming coaches, and maybe you should have blamed the player a little bit. If you dig in on things, but Jerry is the very low hanging fruit that you can blame everything on.
Next one here, 575. If someone still sees Ezekiel Elliott as a lead back in the NFL.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an expired take? That makes it say, all right, you're kind of going off reputation there than what the tape says about that player.
Yeah. I think that you can clearly, but man, how about the times on 4th down on the goal line and they run Pollard in there 3 straight times. He gets stopped all 3 times. And then what they do, they knife Zeke off the left side, and he falls forward and gets in the end zone, and you're kind of like, okay, that's not underrated. That's not an underrated skill he has right there. Finding a way to finish forward when everyone else is getting stopped or knocked sideways or not getting any yards.
817, and I believe this is in reference to whenever there's a strong supporting cast, but it says, when people say anybody can play quarterback, they must have forgot the years after Troy. That was a rough time in my life. So whenever they say anybody can win with the supporting cast.
Trust me, I lived that whole thing with after Troy. I would have trust me, I would have done anything. In this day and age, the way that you're able to kind of get quarterbacks and high caliber quarterbacks, and man, if I'd still probably be in the NFL if we still were able to get guys like they have today. You get Aaron Rodgers, my gosh, I'd have, tell him what I would have done to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers to help us after Aikman.
817, the Romo was a bad quarterback guy, or the Romo was a choke artist guy. Romo carried some bad teams at times. That's also one that, look, I make
anything Romo is probably a take.
I make jokes about Romo a lot, but absolutely, Romo got far too much hate and became incredibly underrated, I think, during his playing career.
There are things that he deserved.
Sure.
There are things that he clearly deserved. If Romo was ever the leader of Dak Prescott, that team would have been probably a lot different. Outstanding player, but I don't feel like that. Tony became very much him and Jason Witten. It was a very, very small group. And
clicky.
Very clicky. And then all of a sudden, 2016, Dak comes in and Romo's trying to have hey, let's have a party at my house and all that. And the guys in the room are looking at each other like, whoa, wait a minute, when did this all start?
Yeah.
Dak is, the leadership qualities of Dak are rare. And if Romo ever had those, man, I think he would be even more highly respected by fans, because he didn't have the leadership qualities that Dak has.
This is something we talk about sometimes on the morning show with Sean and RJ, because people always default, obviously, to the leadership qualities with Dak. And I know that Sean and RJ's argument is, they say it's like talking about a girl and you say, well, she has a great personality. What you're saying is she's not pretty. That's what Sean and RJ say. It's like when you talk about the leadership.
But he doesn't play pretty. That's the thing about it. He's not a pretty player. He makes mistakes and he's aggressive and he to a fault. I mean, a lot of his undoing happens to be because he trusts people around him. He trusts these receivers. He trusted Kellen Moore. Now they've got rid of guys. He trusted Doug Nussmeier. They got rid of him.
Nussmeier. That was.
Yeah.
I think that was the one. So you've been around enough rooms. I feel like every quarterback in the NFL needs somebody in the room who can tell them sit down and shut up.
Exactly.
And Nussmeier was Dak's sit down and shut up guy.
Yeah.
And not that Dak's an incredibly difficult player or anything like that. I don't want to say anything like that. But quarterbacks obviously sometimes get frustrated.
Settle down.
And Doug Nussmeier was the guy that Dak respected and said, all right, Nuss, all right, yeah, you're right. I need to calm down. All right, you're right. I need to just
the voice
sit down.
of reason. You need a voice of reason in the room.
Every quarterback needs it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that, when Brady loses his mind or when a quarterback starts going off, it's that famous clip of Peyton Manning going after Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think it was, who was it? Was
the
it
tackle, the real good tackle, 78.
Was it Tariq Glenn?
It's Tariq Glenn.
Yeah, and so
Glenn.
he got up and he's like, sit, and immediately he's like, all right. He's like, all right, I'm calm. Like, you need somebody on the team. And that was Nussmeier. Nussmeier was the guy who would say that. I think that was a bit of a mistake there, but bringing that all back, Romo, absolutely. I think was Romo a good player? Whenever anybody says he was a bad quarterback, it's like, okay,
no, really
you're
good player.
You're following lazy narratives that don't add up to the reality at all.
Good player and questionable leader, as far as his teammates believed.
Good discussion there with the Tolos. Thanks for joining us here on this July 4th. Let us know what you're doing out there for Independence Day. On the truckhawk.com fan text 877-881-1053 877-881-1053. Coming up next, I'm excited to talk about this topic specifically with Brian Broaddus because I think it impacts the future of his son, and it's betting and the world of sports. That's next here on 105.3 The Fan.
They are three lifelong DFW.
Accidents happen. Franco & Franco are the go-to attorneys for car and truck wrecks in DFW. If you or a loved one has been in an accident, contact Franco & Franco for a free consultation at truckwreck.com or call 214 or 817-333-3333.
Bobby Belt, Brian Broaddus, Justin Honore on the board. We're hanging with you until noon today when Rangers pregame will take over. Leading up to Rangers and Red Sox at 12:30, which you can catch that and every Rangers game right here, all here on 105 through the Fan. As I try to down some soda or something real quick to try and cool my mouth. I was stuffing my face during the break, Brian, and it's that blue agave sriracha from Yellowbird.
Yeah, outstanding.
Holy cow! It's hot,
outstanding.
But it's so good.
Yeah,
jeez,
they've got a lot of really good flavors over there.
That's good stuff right
What's
there.
the habanero one you got working over there?
Yeah, I got the habanero too, but I just put
awesome.
the blue agave sriracha on the eggs and stuff, and man, that was good.
Yeah,
But
good
now
stuff.
I've got a little bit of a runny nose, but we're going to power through it. All right, Brian, before we start this segment, before we set it up, I would like for you, which I think you've mentioned before, but I would like for you to set up for the listeners a little bit the profession that your 19-year-old son, Bennett, is pursuing.
Well, he currently is going to start his sophomore year at the University of Texas. He got into the McCombs Business School there, and so he's excited about that. He is very interested in sports and sports gambling, and he's really good with numbers. And so he's one of those, I thought I was going to have one of those teaching moments as a father. And when he was 14 years old, he's 19 years old now. And I was going to have that teaching moment where he goes, Dad, would you set up an account for me to gamble?
Mm-hmm.
I said, sure. And I did it with the thought that he would blow the money. And then I would go, well, that's it. That's what it's all about. That's gambling. You did it. That's what you... Well, he hasn't asked me for a dime for this account in 5 years, and he still has it. And so he said, I want to smoke, and you said, all right, sit down and smoke this whole pack of cigarettes. Yeah, I thought that was a little different. That I would not. And then he was like, no, but I'm giving you the analogy. You said smoke this whole pack of cigarettes, and when he was done, he said, all right, can I have some more cash? I need to go get a pack of Marlboro Reds. Exactly. But no, he's to the point where he's really good with numbers and lines and stuff like that. And so he's, my friend, one of my best friends, everybody knows, is Mike Lombardi, who does stuff with VSiN, Vegas Sports Information Network. And so Bennett would like to intern. Right now he's down in Austin interning with a financial group. And so he's interested in going to work, like moving to Vegas for the summer and doing stuff with VSiN or doing stuff with BetMGM or William Hill, all the houses there of sports. And so I think he's onto something with the way that gambling and the sports, the tie-ins between, and now we have the sports teams forever that were never in Vegas, and now they're all flocking that direction, especially everybody from Oakland. But that's what he wants to do. And so, hopefully we can facilitate that where he can make a career out of it.
There's been a very, and it's this very interesting evolution because a number of NFL insiders, NBA insiders, people like that, there's been talk about some of these, betting apps. We have BetQL here. You mentioned BetMGM. There's FanDuel, DraftKings, different stuff like that involve gambling, that they've started to get into the push of, let's go hire an Adam Schefter to work for our content platforms. Let's get this person. Let's get that person. So FanDuel has Shams Charania, one of the best insiders in professional sports, doing their NBA stuff. And this was a story last week that raised some eyebrows. Was Shams Charania pretty much single-handedly moved the line on who was going to be picked at number 2.
Yeah.
When he reported that Scoot Henderson was gaining momentum and had basically become the favorite to be picked at number 2. And Adrian Wojnarowski had reported the entire time, said, I'm not moving on this. I'm telling you guys it's Brandon Miller.
Yeah.
That is who it's been the entire time. That is who it's going to be, is Brandon Miller. that didn't change things in the sense that once Shams reported, the betting lines moved and it became a lot closer between Miller and Scoot Henderson, including FanDuel's lines. And FanDuel got a lot of money coming in on the odds on that pick. And then when it was wrong and it was Brandon Miller selected, a lot of people started asking, okay, do we have ethical questions here about the ability? It's almost like insider trading, right? Like where if you've got the knowledge of it and then you sell off a stock because you know some thing is coming.
About to collapse,
Same sort of thing. That the question became, is FanDuel using Shams Charania, maybe using their influence to like move lines a little bit? Hey, we need to make some money back on this pick. We need you to report the opposite. I don't think it's that specific. FanDuel, when they were given the word about it, when this became a criticism, FanDuel pushed back and said, absolutely not. This isn't anything we do. We give him full autonomy because we know we've got to be, above board.
Yep.
And with this influx of NFL betting issues that we've seen, all these players getting caught recently, Isaiah Rodgers specifically with the Colts, because that one, most of these we've seen, it's been betting on things that weren't football, but you were on the team site or something like that. Or maybe you were caught betting on football, but it wasn't your team. Or in Calvin Ridley's case, you bet on football, but you weren't active. You weren't there, so you thought it was okay. The Isaiah Rodgers one was a little troubling because it was on a teammate's over-under rushing totals. And you know the game plan, and
you're at practice every day, and you're in the locker room every day, and that's the things you can't have that. I don't think you can have, like I say, to me, I know my own personal experience. I think I've told this story about me and Rob Phillips. We all went to Vegas with the Cowboys, and Rob and I are like thinking about, okay, let's put our bags up and I'll meet you down the sports book kind of a thing. And Derek Eagleton heard what we were doing, and Derek goes, you go in there, you're both fired. And you're like, and I'm like, excuse me? And he's like, no, you go in there, you're fired. You know that.
You thought he was kidding?
I thought he was kidding, and he really wasn't. But I think you have to be very, very careful of that, with especially somebody that has access to practice, to maybe they're going in the training room and they're seeing players hooked up to machines and stuff. And, and then that guy's getting treatment 24/7, and it doesn't look like. I'll never forget. Fantasy football. Fantasy football is a friend of mine. She asked me about Tom Brady, and I had a friend other than Mike Lombardi that worked at the Patriots, and I asked my friend. I said, "Hey, listen." She had this girl had Tom Brady, and she said, "Hey, Brian, you hearing anything?" And because she was, she had a chance to win like $500 if she could get this last game. And so I asked one of my buddies, I'm like, yeah, I'll help her. And I called and I said, hey, what's the story on Brady? And my guy's like, hey, Tom is really banged up. I don't know, man. It's going to be close. It's going to be questionable, that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay. So I told her, well, she ended up not playing Tom Brady. Well, Brady ends up playing that weekend and throws for like 406. One of those things. And, she loses. And I felt so terrible about it that I didn't, that I basically gave her the $500. I said, listen, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean. She goes, no, you don't have to give me this. You were just trying to help. But that's the kind that right there stopped me from ever giving fantasy advice. Like, people will ask me, hey, Broadus, who will you play? And I don't play fantasy football myself. But I used to have access to knowing who practiced, who didn't practice, who was questionable, who was not going to play. I knew all that. And so I had to be very mindful of who I conveyed those thoughts to.
Well, and that's why with the gambling stuff, and Mike Florio wrote this week, inside information could become a major problem for the NFL, and talking about that. Look, the truth about injuries or game plans or things like that, this is where, if various staff members know things, this is where you get in real trouble. And this is something the NFL is guarded against before they had betting partners. Because I work with NFL Network, so I have to go through the NFL gambling training every year, and they are insistent that anybody approaches you, asks you for injury information, you do not answer, and you call this line and let them know what's happening. I think this has always been going on. This has always existed. It's just now that they have these betting partners, the surveillance is there.
Yeah.
And now they're able to be informed, and it's kind of
they have access.
The dirty secret is out in the open now.
Yeah.
And I just think this is only going to get worse. And I wonder at what point, if there's somebody like a Shams Charania working for a betting outlet, or if Adam Schefter changes, if just quietly, not official memos, but quietly, it is communicated within league circles, the NBA or the NFL, of you do not talk to these reporters. You do not talk to Shams Charania. You do not talk to Adam Schefter. Don't talk to these people that work for betting outlets, because now we're putting the integrity of the game at stake. Yeah. And I just wonder where that goes. But kind of an interesting tie-in given, Bennett's future endeavors.
Yeah, Bennett's more about, we'll see with the stuff what he does with Visson and Mike Lombardi and those guys, hopefully. But I think he's more interested in like setting lines and stuff like that. I think his love of numbers and sports, I think that's the combination he's trying to figure out.
As soon as I leave, the day I leave the NFL Network, Brian, I'm going to give him a call and have him place my wagers for me. Yeah. Okay, Brian, we are going to do a G-Bag staple here coming up at 10:40. We are going to do Krusty's Corner. It's going to be a treat here for the normal KNC listening audience. Where are we going with it?
I'll tell you what, I've got some Cowboy questions for Bobby Belt to answer, and I think you guys need to chime in with your own answers as well. We'll do that next.
Coming up in the next G-Bag Nation, we'll be back after the 4th of July. Chris Young, Rangers GM, joins us at 4:20 as we recap the first game of Red Sox and Rangers. Join the nation 2 to 5:30 on the Fan.
RJ Choppy here with my good friends over at Xeris. How's your carpet looking? It's pretty disgusting.
best models will sell fast. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Relax and enjoy the difference. Find new roads.
Thank you, Justin Honore. He is on the board today for us. Bobby Belt here alongside Brian
Doing a fine
Broaddus.
job in there, by the way.
Justin always does a great job.
I'm enjoying working with him.
We'll take you up till noon today, leading up to Rangers pregame. We'll cross-talk with Jared Sandler at 11:40, Rangers and Red Sox at 12:30. But now it's time for a good old G-Bag Nation staple, Krusty's Corner.
Thank you there, Robert. I appreciate that. Thanks to everybody out there that's been listening with us this morning. I hope you're having a great 4th, getting yourself together. Be safe out there. Look out for each other. Mix in a water or two if you can, right? We got the hot dog thing coming up too, right? In about 15 minutes at Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Old Joey Chestnut.
Which I absolutely despise. Dipping hot dogs in water.
Ugh.
Can't.
You know what you're opening yourself up to now?
What's that?
Your next G-Bag Nation bet payoff?
That or eating a fried egg or a deviled egg would kill me.
Gosh.
Be terrible. All right, Krusty's Corner today, Robert. Got something for you. Kind of all Cowboy-related stuff. I think our fans will appreciate this.
I'm ready.
This kind of something. You and I always do stuff like this on Love of the Star.
Yeah, to be honest, this will probably be repurposed, Brian, for Love of the Star. Yeah, I'm probably going to clip this. We were talking about that. A lot of this will end up being Love of the Star today, you guys. Just
Here we go. All right. Krusty's Corner, question number 1 for Robert Belt. Why do we trust Dan Quinn and not Mike McCarthy?
Because the last time we saw Mike McCarthy doing what he's going to be doing this year, it was a failure. And you had one of the most prominent players in the NFL, somebody who's considered a very high IQ player in Aaron Rodgers, who was very clearly openly critical about the things that he was doing. I think there was similar skepticism about Dan Quinn when he first got here because people thought of how things collapsed in Atlanta, not just in that Super Bowl. As you've said, you talked to somebody in Atlanta who said we were all 10 minutes away from us
They were all 10 minutes away from all getting 5-year contract extensions.
Yeah, from having streets named after them, probably.
Yeah.
And so I think that just the way it ended, the Cowboys helped in 2020, helped kind of put the nail in the coffin on Dan Quinn's career in Atlanta when the Falcons blew that lead in week 2 against the Cowboys. So I think there were similar questions about Dan Quinn. It's just this is 2 years now where he's shown what he can do and he's earned the trust. And so I think the difference is Dan Quinn has given you something tangible that you can look at and say, we need to trust this guy. And at times where there have been questions about what they were doing or what his approach was, we've come away from it and in the end said, no, he ended up being right. And so we've got to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think you're completely on this that thing. I think there's just so much unknown right now with the offensive coaches. And I want to trust Mike McCarthy, and I want to believe that 70% of the offense stays, and him and Brian Schottenheimer and the others have kind of figured out what the other 30% is going to be, hopefully mix in a screen game.
Yep.
Some deceptives there.
Hey, Jeff Blasco, the new running backs coach, I think that's definitely something he wants to have happen.
I think we interviewed him, and he was like,
a good interview.
I said, I'll throw you a parade down Main Street over here if you just find a way to get a screen game going.
Boy, he is a fiery guy.
He is a really fiery guy.
You can hear him on the practice field every time. I love it. Him and Robert Prince both.
I hope at the end of it, though, we can trust Mike McCarthy.
Absolutely. I think that's what's best for everybody.
I hope we can trust Mike McCarthy.
I want Mike McCarthy to be successful because it means the Cowboys were successful.
All right. Bobby Belt, question 2.
And you guys can weigh in on the truckrec.com.
Yeah, feel free. Read those.
877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. And 940 says, I asked that question a lot. We trust Quinn after he literally drafted the Falcons into a bottom feeder. And so it's a fair question.
All right, Bobby. What if Mozzie Smith is just okay?
Oh, I'm going to ask you to expand a little. What if Mozzie Smith is just okay in 2023? Or what if Mozzie Smith for his career is just okay?
At 2023. Do you expect him? Do you expect him to be better than okay? And I mean, when I say okay, it's maybe a terrible question.
No.
But what if he's just okay? He's just okay.
Okay is better than what you were getting at a lot of times from your one techniques in the run game.
Sure.
And so, is it a disappointment? It might be a little bit, but okay is still an improvement. And look, I think that it's funny. Mozzie Smith and Derek Lively have some interesting little parallels here. Derek Lively, the Mavs first-round pick, in that for the questions about, well, how much can they develop into this? How much can they do? How much can Mozzie Smith do the pass rush part? How much can Derek Lively develop the offensive game? How much can they do the sexy stuff? And it's like, okay, but here's what you got to understand is that right now, today, the day you picked him, Mozzie Smith instantly became one of your best run defenders.
Yeah.
The day you picked Derek Lively instantly became your best interior defender. So those are the things where it's like, hey, look, at the very floor here says you've improved. And so take that improvement and bank on the upside. So if he's just okay, which is totally possible, he's still a raw player. I think that just okay is still a little bit better than what you were getting in terms of run stopping at the one technique, but it would be a bit of a disappointment. But it's probably going to take a little bit of time with Mozzie.
I just want Mozzie Smith to be, when we get to training camp, that he's like playing really well with his hands and he's active and he's up the field, and maybe a rep or two he's kind of getting the best of Zach Martin, that kind of, or he's beating Biotish on a reach block, That's what I want to see.
Here's an interesting point brought up from 214, and I'll kick this question over to you. Is okay Mozzie better than Tristan Hill?
Oh, yeah. No
But
question.
didn't we also feel like Tristan Hill at the very least would be okay?
Yeah.
Like at the very minimum, he'll be okay. That's why, look, if you want to be terrified over the Mozzie Smith pick, which there were a lot of Cowboys fans who were.
If he becomes Tristan
Your
Hill?
biggest worry should probably be that because when you hear the discussion about him, man, he's a freak athlete and he's still raw, but he's got all this ability. It was similar discussion about Tristan Hill when they picked him.
Yeah. I never felt great about Tristan Hill.
I feel better about Mozzie Smith.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, question 3. Is there a chance that Deron Bland is the best corner on the squad?
No. I mean, maybe one day, maybe we look at the end of his career, we will. He's a really good player. Stephon Gilmore was still very good in man coverage last year. Trayvon Diggs is still, to me, a top, without counting it, like without looking at it, I would lean towards Trayvon Diggs as a top 5 corner in the NFL for me.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I don't think Deron Bland's going to step up and be top 5 to 10 corner right away, but he is.
His trajectory is pretty good after year 1, right?
He is so
around the ball, play slot, play outside.
I'll tell you this. I don't
ball skills.
I've never told this story on the air before. I know one of the things that they really were impressed by, not just the ability, the motor. You see the tape. You saw that on his tape at Fresno State was the motor.
He should have been playing at Washington or UCLA, one of those places.
They do love the character. So here's what happened. When he made his trip here to Dallas for his 30 visit, he lost his, the airline lost his luggage.
Oh, geez.
And he didn't have any clothes to change into, nothing. But something that really impressed the Cowboys was lost his luggage, and he didn't. They were like, did not complain, just kind of said, hey, it is what it is. I'm just excited to sit here and talk to you guys and blah.
Yeah.
Like, just had a great attitude about, and they looked at that and said, man, when we piece everything else together and then we see the character like that, that's a dude that we want here.
Yeah.
And so that I think he absolutely has an ability to be in this secondary for potentially the next decade, because I think he's a really good player who does a lot of different things for you. And I don't see regression there. But I don't think right now he can be better than Diggs and Gilmore.
I'll tell you what, man. I think he's got a real future. I don't know if he'll be the best, but I mean, I think he's going the right direction.
214, who's better in 3 years, Brian? Deron Bland or Eric Scott?
Oh, Bland.
I think Bland as well.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of really positive things about Scott, but there could be some growing pains for him.
Yeah, he's still very raw.
Yeah, very raw. Okay. Here's my next question, number 4. Is there too much pressure on Jalen Tolbert this season?
Man, that's a good question. It's an interesting one. Let me think here.
I mean, is there too much? Because after what he went through last year,
in terms of what the team is asking him to do, or outside media pressure,
everything that he's having to deal with, the fans, the team, himself, is there too much pressure for him?
This is such a straddle the fence answer, which I know you hate these.
Don't even do it. If you're going to do that,
no, but here's what I'm going to say.
Don't do it.
Let me say it. Here's my answer. Don't make me go Mike Bassick screaming here. All right? No, here's what I'll say. Is it too much? I will have to see what his mental makeup is.
Yeah.
We'll get the answer at camp. If he's having issues, if he's doing things like, because it clearly was too much for him last year where he's lining up incorrectly. He's making middle school football mistakes and not checking in with the side judge there. So we'll have to see in that sense. I don't think it is. I think he's going to bounce back. When we've heard him do interviews this offseason, it sounds like he identified what was wrong and addressed it.
I worry that there might be too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
There's the expectations not only of his own, but the front office and the fan base, I think, wants to say, okay, the Cowboys are a good drafting team. This is a guy they thought about maybe drafting in the second round.
I think your quarterback is probably telling him,
yeah,
I need you to be better this year.
I need you to be better.
Yeah.
I just wonder if he can handle the pressure.
817 says absolutely not. He needs to perform where he's out. 787 says Tolbert does not have the mental makeup for the NFL. Bust. I'm not willing to say that yet, but I think this year will be very telling.
There's your pressure right there.
Yeah.
The fan base is kind of like, you're going to be a bust, bro.
Yep.
You're a bust. Okay, my last question for you, Robert, here on the Krusty's Corner for the 4th of July holiday. Which Scott needs to be better, McCurley or Tolzien?
Ooh.
And Scott McCurley is the linebackers coach.
Who had been demoted.
Yeah, and now is back.
Not in title. He had always been the linebackers, but George Edwards was the linebacker coach last couple years. Scott Tolzien.
Scott Tolzien's the quarterback coach.
Yeah, and Scott Tolzien's got the most pressure. To me. Scott Tolzien, like we've mentioned before, your quarterback was not happy that his coach was let go. He was not happy, and so there's
always going to be those glances.
I don't think he has an issue. I think he likes Scott Tolzien a lot.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, you're stepping into a job where your quarterback probably thinks there shouldn't be a different person standing in front of me right now.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, on the other side of that, Micah Parsons probably thinks I shouldn't be staring at somebody other than George Edwards.
That's what I'm saying. He loved George Edwards.
I'm going to say Scott Tolzien is going to be, there's more pressure on him because he's also going to be in charge of, I've been in McCarthy's system. I'm going to help communicate the concepts that he wants. And so there's I think there's more pressure on Tolzien.
I think there's more pressure on Tolzien too.
See, we agreed in the end, even though I straddled the fence on Jalen Tolbert.
I hated the fact that the Tolbert answer was terrible.
Thank you, Brian. Final hour here of our July 4th broadcast. Thanks for hanging with us, Tolos. Coming up next, we are going to go around the NFL. That's next year on 105.3 The Fan. here on the KNC Masterpiece. We're going to talk about Trajan Langdon and the national championship Duke basketball team from 20 years ago.
Well, so.
Bobby Belt alongside Brian Broaddus. We got Justin Honore on the board.
I swear if the Mavericks do another damn thing, I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm so sick of this basketball team. Mark Cuban,
Mike, you know what's interesting? When you say Mark Cuban, you know what that makes me think of? Is like a Cuban cigar. And it's kind of fitting because like the NBA smoked
What are you talking about, Majors? Nobody knows what you're talking about,
Mike,
Majors. You're always talking about things nobody knows what you're talking about.
I don't know, man. Like when you think about it, like you smoke a Cuban cigar, like the team and Mark Cuban got smoked. It kind of makes sense. Bobby Belt alongside Brian Broaddus, Justin Honore on the board. We've gone completely wheels off here as we start the final hour of this July 4th program for you guys, leading up to Rangers pregame at noon. We'll crosstalk with Jared Sandler at 11:40. At 11:20, Brian Broaddus is going to give you a thorough breakdown on the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, why Joey Chestnut is his personal life hero, and his very aggressive personal feud that he has with Kobayashi. And why he's just not
Kobayashi?
Good yeah.
Is it Kobayashi, I thought?
I don't know. I just it's
Kobayashi.
No, Kobayashi and Kobayashi was usual suspects. That's right. That was the lawyer.
Give me an event. That might be the one event I have no desire to ever go to. The Nathan hot dog eating thing.
Why?
None. I told you this earlier. I enjoy hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy putting the mustard on them and, build them with the relish and onion, whatever else you want to build them, however you want to build them.
You're a hot dog artist.
And I'd love just enjoying them that way. I cannot stand dipping them in water, to consume.
Mm-hmm.
And I do feel like, though, that, now that they've kind of like, I heard yesterday that Kobayashi has like jaw problems. So he can't competitive eat anymore. And like, I don't think this, I think this guy, our champ, I think I don't think there's anybody to compete with him. I think he's bored. It's like, I said this yesterday, it's like watching Max Verstappen drive Formula One cars.
You know who could compete against him?
Nobody competes against him.
You know who could compete against him? I think if he trained for it, Eric Chiafalo. That man has a black hole of a stomach.
I will tell you, we were at Rangers spring training. And I was doing this bit where we were reviewing ballpark food.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the Italian beef sandwich. And I got mine all ready to go, and Wolchuk was filming for me. And I bought Eric one too. And by the time I'd kind of dolled it up and had it ready to go, he was down to the last bite. Like he took 3 bites. And that thing was gone.
Dude,
nearly gone.
When he is, I believe,
chicken wings is another thing.
He's the youngest. He's the youngest of all the hosts, right? Isn't he? Yes.
And maybe the most talented.
Reggie, or no? I think Reggie is older.
Reggie's older.
Okay, Eric is the youngest. I cannot wait for that metabolism to finally slow down. He's still got that basically. It's lasted him a little longer, but Eric's still got that like young teenage metabolism, basically.
Yeah.
As soon as it slows down, it is going to hit him like a ton of bricks. And I for one, am going to be there laughing the entire way and enjoying it, because this man will eat, what would you say, 5 plates in the AT&T Stadium press box?
It's impressive. I don't know if it's 5, but it's not less than 3.
It's like loaded on there.
Yeah, he needs a wheelbarrow to get it over to the area, and he stands up and he eats. He doesn't sit down to eat. He stands up.
And he's got to burn those extra calories.
Yeah.
If he sits, he'd put on all that weight.
I bring him on Friday when I bring Lucius and Carter and those guys food and Reggie,
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring him a sandwich every once in a while. And nobody's more appreciative of food than Eric. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you brought this for me.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And then in 2 bites, it's gone.
Yeah. He acts like you just helped him cover his rent or something when you bring him food. He's like, oh my gosh, thanks. Oh, I owe you so much.
Yeah, he's so appreciative of it. It really, really is.
It's very, very kind. All right, we're going to go around the NFL here as we get you set here for this last hour leading up to Rangers baseball. Brian, great news for a former LSU Tiger.
Go Tigers.
And now a current New Orleans Saint. Foster Moreau said Monday that his cancer is officially in full remission, which was such great. I mean, it's such great news to hear, but just the fact that it was found 3 months ago.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma following a physical with the New Orleans Saints while he was visiting for free agency. He ends up with the Saints. He's going to be able to continue to work with Derek Carr, who he developed a great relationship with while he was with the Raiders. But really, really great news for Foster Moreau there.
No, absolutely. And one of my LSU brothers, and I'll tell you what, sometimes you go on these visits and, they do physicals on you and you're kind of complaining a little bit of like, oh, it's taking too much time. I have to see the doctor and this. And they run those tests on you. Like, I remember we brought Eric Dickerson into the Packers. We were going to trade for him. And then he never knew that he had a narrowing spinal canal. He never knew it. And we ran a test on him, and the doctors told him, and doctors basically said, "Man, you're in pretty bad shape here." And he goes, "Man, I never knew this." And he retired right after that. He said, "I'm done. I'm not gonna risk it anymore. I didn't know I had this and all that." But sometimes you go on these physicals or take these visits, and you find out things that you find out these things that can like help you have a better quality of life going forward. And great for Foster that he's been able to beat this this cancer.
Absolutely fantastic news. And it's you mentioning there about how that happened with Eric Dickerson. You remember Damone Clark?
Another LSU guy.
A guy who felt fine.
Cowboys found it.
And Cowboys find at the combine. They're like, hey, you really need to address this issue.
Yeah.
And so, it's been a big help. Actually, I think the Saints, I know there was stories about it a couple months ago. I think this is the third time in about 7 years that their medical staff in a physical has found a serious health problem with somebody. They do a great job on these physicals where they catch stuff that's seemingly undetected.
I want to say that there was back in the day, and maybe it's not the same anymore, but the Saints and the Cowboys and the Jets, and maybe it's my Green Bay days, but there was a pod of doctors. The Giants had a doctor that's a famous knee doctor, but there was a pod of doctors that all worked together. They're all very talented doctors, but there was one the Cowboys was in that was just incredible, like the who's who, the Dan Coopers and people like that, the
Doogie Housers.
Yeah, that Doogie Howser. What are you talking about? But just very super, super talented doctors that find these, they look at these x-rays and MRIs and say, hey, listen, you probably need to get this checked. And next thing you know, they do. And, guys and gals are back to their normal good self.
Some sad news from the NFL yesterday. Monday morning at the age of 79, former Arizona Cardinals head coach Vince Tobin passed away. Did you ever run into Vince Tobin at all during your time in the league?
I did. And he was never on one of my staffs, but always competed against him. And he better known as a really good defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that had a real knack, kind of in that Buddy Ryan.
I was going to say he was a Buddy Ryan disciple, wasn't he?
Yeah, the Buddy Ryan era, where these guys, that were really, really good at stopping people, and Tobin was a part of one of those staffs.
An interesting note: you remember that awful playing surface we saw at the Super Bowl?
A little slippery.
It was very slippery. People were trying to name or blame the 100-year-old god of sod or whatever they called him.
George Toma.
Yeah, George Toma. People trying to blame him. The NFL apparently is
blaming George Toma.
No, the NFL. This headline from Pro Football Talk: privately, the NFL blames Super Bowl slipping on players wearing the wrong cleats.
So
you remember this was a discussion point when they were going to Lambeau. When the Cowboys went to Lambeau, where McCarthy had drilled home to them, you guys need to wear the right cleats. Do not, and if guys weren't prepared the right way, it's like, well, we told you. So the NFL apparently is saying the problem was not the field conditions. The problem is the cleats that you were supposed to wear and you didn't.
See, that's just the issues that you have, that's the attention to detail for these, especially like in the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Bucky Buchanan and Mike McCord and those guys, they're in constant communication with other teams about, hey, have you ever played here? Have you ever played there? These kinds of things. And they know, Bucky is like, the attention to detail when it comes to that is incredible. He's not going to let his players get in bad shoes. And you're absolutely right about Mike McCarthy. McCarthy's, I've seen enough games and actually worked at Lambeau for those 5 years I was in Green Bay, where you see it like late in the year and it turns from day to dark. Mm-hmm. That field turns into, and then the moisture in the field, it turns into a skating rink. It really, really does. And you have to know that going in. The later it is in the year, and when you start in the day and go to the dark, that you're going to have a problem with some of the slippage on the field. And for the Super Bowl, it's embarrassing that those, Kansas City obviously won the game, but it's embarrassing that the players were falling and their equipment staffs didn't have them, geared up the proper way.
Packers president Mark Murphy may have accidentally tipped who is going to be on Hard Knocks, which we know every NFL team has been trying to refuse getting it.
Not him, huh?
And, well, we've heard some chatter that it could end up being the New York Jets, and Mark Murphy may have accidentally confirmed that. During a Q&A on the Packers website, Murphy was asked about Hard Knocks, and without being prompted, he was asked about the Packers' chances of being on the show, and he said, I'm anxious to see the Jets and the many ex-Packers on Hard Knocks this summer. Should be very entertaining.
Okay.
So, Mark Murphy, does he know something? Did he just
he knows
think
something.
They were on there?
No, he knows something. All these owners, and he's a president. He's not the owner. He's the president of the Packers, so he represents the board and the people and stuff like that. But, he knows what's going on.
Dominique Foxworth, the former Broncos and Patriots corner, had said that he was on ESPN recently, and I know he was talking about Robert Saleh saying, it's too much of a distraction. He had said, if your team's too distracted by Hard Knocks, you're not a good coach, is what Foxworth had said. And I'm not sure if he was ever on Hard Knocks, Dominic Foxworth, but you were in the building when Hard Knocks was going on, right?
Couple times.
So,
2 times.
Having gone through it, would you agree with that assessment?
It's
or is it just a very difficult thing?
It's a very, very difficult thing, and we weren't a good enough team in the early 2000s when it first came out. We were, we had too many people in the organization that were actors, that were every week. It felt like we'd be in meetings and guys would be saying things. I'm like, man, no one is being truthful right now. Everybody's acting, playing to the cameras and all that. It was a terrible. I'm sure the fans appreciate the access they have. If you go through it, it's a terrible experience. It really, really is.
Do you want to say who is the biggest actor?
Well,
or not? You don't have to.
I shouldn't.
All right.
If you go back and watch, there's some people on there on our coaching staff that were
hamming it up a little bit.
Way too much. All
right. Last note here. Caesars Sportsbook, future employer of Bennett Broaddus, has the 2023 updated NFL MVP odds, and Dak Prescott comes in tied for what place on the MVP odds?
5th.
10th.
Ooh.
Plus 2,500. He is tied with Justin Fields. Some of the names ahead of Dak Prescott on this list will count from worst odds up to the best. Plus 2,200 Tua Tagovailoa. Plus 1,800 Aaron Rodgers. 1,600 Lamar Jackson. Tied with at 1,600 Trevor Lawrence. And then you get to the top 5. Justin Herbert at plus 1,500. Jalen Hurts at plus 1,200. Josh Allen and Joe Burrow tied at plus 750. And then Patrick Mahomes at plus 650. But what's interesting here, a receiver has never won the MVP. And I think I was reading about value bets the other day. Justin Jefferson's odds are like plus 10,000.
Bet it.
I got to think that's pretty good odds.
Bet it.
If anybody's going to do it,
there's going to be a year where everybody's going to decide it's not a quarterback. It's going to be one of these. It's going to be a skilled guy other than a quarterback.
One of these years, it's going to have to happen. Yeah. And one of these years, Brian Broaddus is going to have to go to Coney Island or wherever it is that they hold this Nathan's hot dog eating contest. We're going to be talking about the Nathan's hot dog eating contest and why Brian loves it so much. And we are also going to discuss just July 4th. What are you guys up to? Let us know on the truckwreck.com fan text 877-881-1053, 877-881-1053. Tell us what your plans are today and give me the necessary.
DFW's #1 Cowboys podcast. 1.2 million downloads.
for a hot dog eating contest. A lightning delay, to be exact, according to ESPN2, which is where this is on. So you can't eat your hot dog contest because of the lightning. Is that because of the water they dip them in? Are they worried about like you'll have your hand in a cup of water and lightning will strike and it'll?
It's an open air thing. It's like an open air event.
Why is it open air? Wouldn't you just?
It's on Coney Island.
But like, couldn't you just put up a tent or a covered something? Why there shouldn't be a weather delay for eating?
Well, they have a weather. Yeah, it's out on the is it on the boardwalk? I assume it's out of there on the boardwalk is what it is. So you're dealing with all that. You get all that, all the steel around you anyway, like stands and Ferris wheels.
I guess
kinds
so.
Of things. You can't be dealing with that.
Look, see, this is why these damn Gen Zers. Kobayashi came from just a tougher generation. He would have been out there eating hot dogs in hail or lightning or hurricane or whatever else. Joey Chestnut is not built for it the same way. That's why he's not my GOAT. Kobayashi is my Jordan. Joey Chestnut's LeBron.
I think Joey Chestnut is like a 7 or 8 time champ doing this.
I honestly have no idea what I'm talking about.
I think he holds like other. We had a contest, and Justin, you can chime in on this one too. If you had to competitively eat something, is there something that you could be good at?
Is it just eating, or can I include drinks?
You have.
Can I competitively drink?
You were not going to get defeated in that.
No. I drink the
like vodka shots.
Yeah. Like I drink the way the Mavericks negotiate contracts. I'm just betting, like I'm going against myself, like competing against myself here.
Yeah.
That's typically how it does.
You have to eat. You have to have something to consume other than alcohol.
Okay, no alcohol. Then I don't know. I feel like I could eat just if it's about the amount and not necessarily how fast. Like I don't know, fries.
Why do I feel like I could eat like just baskets of chips and salsa? Like it's like,
chips and queso, something like that.
That's his 8th basket. Oh, that's his 10th basket, Why do I feel like I could do that? I said crawfish. Like if I peel them and eat them, I could eat really fast. Justin, you have anything you competitively can eat?
I guess maybe pancakes, but like that.
Oh
man, those feel too dense to me.
Who did the pancake challenge? Didn't someone try and eat a bunch of pancakes up here and they?
I mean, that's just like, I feel like that's just Chia Follow, like in the morning, like eating a bunch of pancakes and stuff like that. But
it might have been Woolchuck.
Pre-soda, of course.
But or Bassick had, I can eat a dozen donuts in a certain amount of time or something like that.
Ugh. I know. I remember Eric did the Big Mac in like 5 seconds or
No, he
something.
did it. Yeah, I did it in 1:09, and he beat me by, I think he was inside a minute. He beat me by about 10, 12 seconds, I think.
He is impressive. We're asking you guys on the truckwreck.com fan text today what you guys are doing for July 4th, and also what is the number one item that's a necessity at the July 4th cookout? Where it's like, if you don't have this, then this doesn't even really count as a cookout, and I'm upset that I even came here. A couple of things we got here. 254 says beer. Let's see here. We've got 817 says they're currently at work until 3:30, then picking up the wife and going to Lone Star Park for racing and fireworks. As far as cookout,
that is what I'm talking about right
going to
there.
see the ponies.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about these horses running in this heat. I'm glad they run them late in the day, but still a little bit warm. But yeah, the July, I mean, hey, the days out there at the track are awesome.
Yeah,
I love Lone Star Park.
Go out there. You might see Randy Galloway. You never know.
I did. I sat in his box a couple times, man. In fact, he and I were having a discussion about the Cowboys one time, and he forgot to place his bet, and his horse that he was going to bet on won. And it cost him, like the conversation he had with me cost him about $1,200.
Did you give him $1,200 like you gave the fantasy football lady $500?
No, Randy already had the money, but I go, how much would you have won? He goes, about $1,200. He and I were having a conversation about the Cowboys in his box, and he forgot to place his bet.
He's a legend, old Randy.
He is a legend, yep.
817 says, as far as the cookout, just have mustard and relish for the dogs, and I'm cool. I cannot put relish on the hot dog. I'm a mustard and a ketchup guy. I'll go mustard, ketchup, and take it that way.
I like hot dogs, but I like brats more. I like the brat and the bun. It might be the Wisconsin 5 years of being up there did that to me.
817, in terms of what they could eat if they had to competitively eat. Ponchos, tacos. I've not been to a Ponchos in probably 20 years.
Is that the raise the flag?
Yeah, raise the flag, raise the flag.
I'll tell you what,
Aren't you
man.
ready for a little more ponchos?
Is that their jingle?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
I don't
Or
remember.
it used to be when I was a kid, it was that.
I think you made that up.
I swear that's what it is. I promise I'm going to show you during the break.
I've been to the Ponchos a bunch, and I don't ever remember that being the jingle.
And no, that is. Raise the flag, aren't you ready for a little more ponchos? Raise the flag, aren't you ready for a little more ponchos? Mexican buffet. That was absolutely it. You'd get you'd raise the flag, you'd get the sopapillas. Yeah.
Did you ever cut the corner off the sopapilla and pour the honey into the sopapilla?
Yeah, or
like a vessel,
or kind of like pop the top.
No,
and
but you just cut the corner.
Yeah, you can just do the corner,
and then that way you have that full casing of it. Oh my god.
Yeah, same thing. 661. Hey guys, it's my birthday,
happy
and without
birthday.
ribs, there's no barbecue. Well, happy birthday to 661.
Get you some ribs.
214 for the cookout. Baked beans and pinto beans. Are pinto beans a common thing at the cookout? I don't feel like they are typically.
I feel like though it's kind of be depending on maybe your nationality a little bit.
214, yo, Bobby, I got extra pickles for your burger today, big homie. You know you're trolling me and that I would never eat those.
You hate pickles?
I not only hate pickles, I can't pick pickles off of anything. If you put pickles on it, I will not eat it. I can't pick it off because pickle juice gets on it.
Get out of here.
Now, somebody tried to, see, Mike Peasley's pumping a fist in the next room. He knows. Pickles are
Mike
disgusting.
is from the Midwest. I mean, he's used to, eating, all kinds of, he's just giving us the vomit sign.
It's disgusting. It is 100% disgusting. And here's the thing. I had somebody say, well, you can never, somebody on the text said this the other day. They're like, well, you could never eat Chick-fil-A then because Chick-fil-A, puts their chicken in the pickle juice. And I know that. Again, it's different. Putting something in pickle juice and then cooking it is not the same as having wet pickle juice on a. That's gross.
You've never had Nashville hot chicken sandwich?
I have.
Okay,
but I don't put the pickles on.
Yeah, but one of the things that you soak the chicken thighs in is pickle juice.
But that's different. It's like beer can. I can serve chicken to a child that's it's been. We put beer in it somehow. Like you can have them eat that because it's been cooked in.
Cooks off.
So that's what I mean. It's been cooked in. It's different. It's like saying that, oh, you don't like tomatoes? Well, you eat pizza and that's tomato sauce. I'm like, it's not the same. It's a different question. Actual cold pickles and the pickle juice on there.
Oh man, give me that.
No.
The little crunch. Yes.
No, not that.
That's one of the great things about the chicken sandwich is having the pickles on it.
Man, I can't do it. Not at all. 206, I got burgers, queso, and brats on the smoker as we speak. 972, potato salad and cold beverages.
Okay, let me have a question about the potato salad. Hey, Little Red's joined us on the set today. Hello there, Alec. The potato salad, I like the mustard-based potato salad. Like the yellow potato salad.
Yeah. Over the mayo-based one or whatever.
And I like mayo, but I'm a bigger fan of the mustard-based potato salad than the white one.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's typically the one I like. Now I've cooled on potato salad in recent years.
Little bacon bits in it and stuff. Man.
I've never had bacon bits in potato salad.
Oh
really?
My gosh, yes. Yes.
Okay, so for you, how are you? Because I know one of the cardinal sins to a lot of people is the ketchup on the hot dog. What goes on a hot dog for you?
I don't put ketchup on my hot dog. I'm sorry. I do put, I'm kind of to be honest with you, I'm a snob.
Ooh.
I'm a high-end mayonnaise, high-end mustard guy. I'm not just your normal French's out of the bottle squeeze thing. I'm kind of if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go maybe a grainy brown, like a Gouldens. I'm kind of particular about that.
469, my friend and I are about to do 2 slabs of ribs, some brats, and yes, Brian is right about mustard potato salad.
Yeah.
Deviled egg potato salad is good as well. I have never heard of deviled egg potato salad.
I can't do that.
You don't do eggs. But
I know. I like eggs. I like omelets and scrambled eggs. I can't eat fried eggs or deviled eggs. I don't like the white rubbery part of an egg. That's my problem.
I love deviled eggs. As long as they're made right. Now, too often, you've got to get that mustard-mayo ratio just right, because if it tastes too mayo-y or too mustardy, it's not good. Now, on the hot dog, Brian, it is a line of ketchup, a line of mustard, and then together they're good. I would not put just mustard or just ketchup on a hot dog.
I got to throw I think you got to have the extra condiments and stuff. I know you don't like the relish part of it.
I honestly might try one of these hot sauces on there.
That wouldn't be...
Throw it on a hot dog or a burger today.
That would not be terrible.
These Yellowbird sauces,
that would
not be good.
That would not be terrible at all.
But no, I think that generally Now on the chili dog, because some people say onions go on hot dogs. Onions only go on hot dogs to me if there's chili.
Chili, cheese, onions on a hot dog is not a bad call at all. And you got to make sure that the onions are diced up the right way. You can't have big chunks of onion. They have to have the proper cut to be put. You just can't have it overpowering the hot dog.
469, I have my rehearsal dinner tonight and getting married tomorrow, boys.
Hey,
Love y'all.
congratulations.
Tolo, that's Daniel in Plano. Congratulations, Daniel. Very happy for you.
Hey,
enjoy
good
your
job.
dinner.
Good job, Daniel. You and your wife doing it before football season. That's a high marks. And I know it's warm out there right now, but you know what? You're going to get through it, but you didn't do it during football season. So congratulations.
Here's my question for Daniel in Plano, though. He's got his rehearsal dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Isn't he concerned, Daniel, if you're listening, aren't you concerned about people from July 4th just out there partying and drinking all day that you are going to get a bunch of drunk people showing up to your rehearsal dinner night? Like as they show up sloppy.
The rehearsal dinner, you could kind of do that. That's okay. I know one thing. I had my rehearsal dinner in Chicago at Mike Ditka's restaurant.
Well.
And my bar tab was, the dinner tab was like $3,000. The bar tab was $9,000. So to me,
but it's different getting sloppy together versus people show up. To
yeah,
it
but
sloppy.
you could just be careful getting over there. If you're one of those people, the rehearsal dinner, if you're in the wedding party, if you're an usher, you could get a little sloppy. But if you have a speaking role or you have to stand in a certain spot, or you have to be, I'll tell you what I used to be. I used to be the guy, I was a groomsman. I majored in being able to pass cups of water to the bridal party.
Oh.
We had it down so well in Louisiana when we were in all these weddings where we could pass cups of cold water because those poor gals, we'd be in those churches, they were like warm, summertime weddings, and those poor girls would be wearing those heavy old dresses. And we'd pass cups of water to them so they wouldn't just pass out up there.
How gentlemanly of
Yeah.
you. All right, coming up next, we will crosstalk with Jared Sandler. That's next on 105 Through the Fan.
Hey friends, Zach Wolchuk with you, and I thought I was going to be overweight forever until I started my journey with state-of-the-art weight loss. That's soda. I have dropped over 80 pounds and can see the finish line as I'm getting closer.
repair bills. At Reliant Air Conditioning, we provide comfort to homeowners who don't want to be taken advantage of. Our techs don't work on commission, and we don't use shady sales tactics. If you need a new system, you can combine factory and utility rebates to save over $5,000 on a brand new system that can cut your electric bill in half for as little as $98 a month. So call 2 other companies first, and then call Reliant Air Conditioning, and you'll see how we've been gimmick-free since '83. Our number's 877-YOUR-HERO or ReliantAirConditioning.com.
Reliant Air Conditioning. Call 877-YOUR-HERO.
Kentucky Fried Chicken's new Ultimate Barbecue Fried Chicken Sandwich. An extra crispy filet loaded with hickory smoked bacon, cheese, crispy onions, and sweet honey barbecue sauce. It tastes just like summer, but like the good part of summer, not leaving the tent door open and waking up to a swarm of mosquitoes, 2 chipmunks, and 1 very, very large woodchuck. Anyway, try KFC's new Ultimate Barbecue Fried Chicken Sandwich. It's a barbecue in every bite. That's finger-licking good. For a limited time at participating locations while supplies last, prices may vary.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. The Rangers are in Boston to open a series with the Red Sox today. Hi, everybody. This is Matt Hicks, inviting you to join Jared Sandler, Mike Peasley, and me. Our coverage of today's game gets underway at noon on 105.3 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
This segment of The Fan is brought to you by Classic Chevrolet. When you value real independence, you own it at Classic Chevrolet and Grapevine. Shop new Silverados with once-a-year July 4th savings. See them all at ClassicChevrolet.com, but hurry, the best models will sell fast. This is Texas. This is Classic Chevrolet. Relax and enjoy the difference. Find new roads.
It is now time to crosstalk with Jared Sandler, courtesy of Blue Nail Roofing. Jared Sandler, yesterday was maybe, like, just objectively speaking, one of the more exciting games the Rangers have played this year, but man, it sure sucked the way it all ended out.
Yeah, not a great ending, and if you're just a casual baseball fan, that was a heck of a game. Probably one of the better games of the year, but, when you have an emotional tie to it and your team ends up with 11 and not 12, then maybe you have a different way of feeling about it. But it was definitely an exciting game, and it was a really fun comeback to watch unfold. But unfortunately, Will Smith, who had recorded 10 straight saves successfully, was unable to make it 11. And the significance of the Astros by winning the game, winning the series, is also not lost on folks, because instead of the Astros waking up today 5 back of the Rangers, they're now 3 back.
Jared, is the fact that you had the quick turnaround, you guys had to get on a plane, fly to Boston, get settled, get a little bit of sleep, and then play. Does it get that out of your system pretty quick, the fact that you don't have to sit around, or does everybody kind of feel like that, maybe a little rest and to play an evening game might be a little bit better off?
I think from like a physical body standpoint, people probably would have preferred that this game didn't start at 1:30, even if it was, 12:30 back in the Metroplex, even if it was just a few hours later. But I think the adrenaline of playing in front of a sold-out crowd on the 4th of July at Fenway will kick in. And it's one of those things where if they win today, then, people will talk about, it's just great to get back out there and get yesterday's loss out of the system. And, if they lose today, then maybe some people will say, yeah, they're dragging a bit because of the quick turnaround. Obviously more sleep the better. But, I think it's nice that maybe today was not an off day and they can try and turn things around after losing 3 or 4 to Houston. And, if they can do that to begin the road trip as well, to just to get this off to the right start, I think that would be good because, there are teams that they struggle leading into the All-Star break. There's a mental component there where guys are looking ahead to their trips or the All-Star game or some time off. Maybe it's their bed. Maybe it's the couch and watching Netflix, whatever their plans are. When you get to that final week, you really can look at the All-Star break and it's there. It's at the end of the tunnel and it's visible. And so, I think it's important for this team to maintain its focus and end the first half of the season strong.
Jared, the fact that they've struggled at Fenway, is it one of those things that baseball people say, hey, different team, different year? Or is just because baseball is such a numbers-driven game, is it things that this current team has to think about, the struggles at Fenway with the Rangers?
Yeah, this place like Yankee Stadium has not been friendly to the Rangers. With a place like Fenway, you could maybe say that for a team out of their division, a team that does not play here regularly, the uniqueness of the ballpark could come into play. The lack of familiarity with how to play the monster. You got, that right center field nook that's 420 feet, and just the awkward construction of right field. I guess you could cite that, but I just think in general, a lot of it has to do with the fact that here in recent years, the Red Sox in general have been a much better team than the Rangers. And, the Rangers have played some wacky games here, some bad losses. But I'm hopeful that now that the Rangers are, a competitive team again, that they can turn some of that misfortune around. It didn't necessarily play itself out in New York, although the Rangers definitely had a chance to win that series. But hopefully it will play itself out here. I'm
gonna ask you a question that's probably I think I'm right about this. The Rangers had a catcher that hit for the cycle at Fenway Park. Am I right about that? I'm trying to think.
Benji Molina.
Benji Molina. And I was thinking about maybe the slowest catcher you'll ever see running, and now he hits for the cycle. And it's only, I think, a lot of it because of what Fenway Park, those dimensions kind of lead to, like that Travis Jankowski, the ball he hit yesterday would have been probably a triple in that corner over there somewhere, bouncing off the wall and stuff.
Yeah, you get a lot of funky hops, whether it's balls hit off the monster, balls hit, down the right field line that wrap around that wall that, has more of a curl to
short
it than most
porch
walls.
Over there, the pesky pole.
Yeah,
and that
you can, I mean, there's some of the most StatCast anomaly type home runs here at this ballpark. Balls hit right down the right field line that are pop outs, maybe not pop outs, but routine fly outs in a lot of parks. But here it's it's either a fly out or a home run, depending on whether the outfielder can get over in time. The short wall from the right field pole, really up until you get to that portion of right center that angles out to where it converges with the higher wall to make it 420 feet. That makes home runs very robbable, but also takes potential doubles or opportunities where a runner can score from first on a double and sits them at third because it ends up being an automatic double because the ball bounces over. There's just a lot of unique elements to this park, and it's the type of park where if you love that, that part of baseball where, yeah, it's 90 feet, to the bases, but in the outfield, there are all these unique elements to it, whereas, basketball, it's not that much different. You can maybe argue certain gyms have minor differences. Same with a football field. There are a lot of differences here, and they certainly impact the gameplay in a big way.
Jared, I was going to ask you, with Dane Dunning being the starter today, has he kind of become the guy when the team sees him loosening up out there in the bullpen, getting ready, that everybody kind of takes a collective breath and says, okay, we're going to get this thing back on track today? Has he become that type of guy for them as a starter?
Yeah, I guess I'd say I think guys have a lot of respect and confidence in Dane's ability and willingness to compete. And, it's not that any of these guys go out here and they don't try, right?
Right.
I always get – but Dane's got a fearlessness on the mound. I mean, he doesn't throw 97, but he is going to challenge you in the zone. And he's just one of these guys. Someone made the Colby Lewis comparison recently, and I don't know if that totally lines up in my mind apples to apples, but I'd say maybe same family. Colby Lewis, when he was younger, probably had better stuff relative to, what was out there in the league than maybe you would say Dane has from a velocity standpoint. But Dane's stuff moves. His cutter, his slider, those are both really effective pitches. The slider to righties, the cutter to lefties, and his sinking fastball has been really effective against lefties this year. But I think there is a confidence that this guy's not scared about any matchup. He's up for the challenge. Now, he struggled against the Red Sox a bit, in his career, but again, this is a different group, and this is, frankly, a different version of Dane Dunning than what we've seen in recent years. So I'm excited to see how he does today.
Jared, first off, with him mentioning the Benji Molina cycle, would you want to punch me in the face if I said that the double should have been an error on J.D. Drew?
It's funny. We were just having a discussion with Sean McDonough and Joe Castiglione who are doing they're doing radio for the Red Sox here this series. Joe, of course, longtime radio broadcaster for the Red Sox, and Sean's all over the place. And we were talking about how scoring decisions are made. Everything's a hit these days. So, it's just I don't even know why we have errors anymore, because nothing's an error, everything's a hit. So that all that stuff just so over my head at this point.
Yeah. So why not, Benji? Take advantage of that. Real quick, Jared. I know there is a lot of rain in the forecast in and around the Boston area today. We're gonna get through this whole game. Is it looking like we're gonna be clear on the weather?
I was told that we weren't going to play a game in New York without rain, and there wasn't rain during the game at all over the weekend. So I don't know. It was raining earlier. It is overcast up above. The forecast shows that there could be some rain, but we are planning on starting on time and hopefully get this one in.
And Jared, real quick, yesterday I do listen to you guys all the time. I saw where a catcher took a foul tip and umpire did not dust off home plate. So we're making progress here. We're making progress.
Yeah, that is the most garbage, bogus thing an umpire does to kill time. Just stand there. You don't have to do something, right? Like they're trying to give the catcher time after he gets hit, and then they wipe off a perfectly clean home plate. Why are you doing that? Just stand there. You don't have to do something.
Yeah, it's that simple. Now, Jared, I'm sorry we ran out of time for KG to read the starting lineups for you, but we are going to let that carry over. He will read the starting lineups to open the pregame show. How about that? Jared Sandler, enjoy the game, enjoy the trip to Boston, and all of you out there, the Tolos who have hung with us for the last 4 hours, we appreciate it very much. For myself, Brian Broaddus, Alec Medford, Justin Honore, and everyone else, thank you so much. Happy 4th of July, and enjoy Rangers and Red Sox next on 105.3 The Fan.
Always a welcome sign for this clubhouse. Featuring breaking sports news, inside info.